All right. My guys, Marcelo, Kareem, it's good to finally reunite, and talk what we love most to talk about, and that's the entertainment that we have, the blessing of entertainment that we have today, however you want to look at it. But just to see how far entertainment has come as far as CGI and things of that nature. But clearly this is what brought us together. It's art in the form of movies, and a certain director that I believe we all just love and appreciate his work. Um, aka Zack Snyder, if you do not know who I'm talking about. Um, but when I first reached out to you guys, it was because I realized, when this whole thing first started, the movement, and we were all fighting for the Snyder cut. Finally, I remember the Hub account reached out to me. They reached out to everyone, and they put out that tweet like, "Yo, if you have any ideas, let us know." Blah blah blah. And I remember I sent them an idea, and we went back and forth, and voila, the birth of the round tables. And the first episode was us three, minus our brother Manu, who's not here tonight.
He's in
Um,
spirit.
yeah, even he's here in spirit. you know, I really wish he could have been here, but yes, he's here in spirit. Manu, if you are watching anywhere, wherever you may be, just yes, we just know we love you, brother. But yeah, so I was thinking like, man, we got I met together with these guys in the beginning when we were still fighting for the Snyder Cut. We were still, hyping it up. The hype engine was on. We were talking about the things that Zack Snyder was putting out there, uh, uh, um, and what we think was going to be in the movie, from the things that was coming out about Warner Brothers and the background to, is it coming out? When is it coming out? And if it does come out, what direction should Warner Brothers go? How can it connect with their future projects? We were talking all that stuff, and it dawned on me. Here we are now. We finally got the movie, and I still haven't really fully been able to talk to you guys about like what we thought about the movie and just the overall story arc now that we have, what we have, what is still missing, and things of that nature. And I'm like, I really gotta reunite with my brothers to have this conversation, and let's see what's going on. How are they doing? You know what I'm saying? With the whole pandemic going on now, have they been able to enjoy, the entertainment business and in the movies? How's it going for them on that end? What do they see? That's what we're here to talk. You know what I mean? But overall, for sure, I want to start with how did we enjoy Zack Snyder's Justice League? What did you like about it, and was it everything you expected? Uh, Kareem, you could go first.
Yeah, so good to be here. By the way, I missed you guys.
For sure, brother. For
If
sure.
you're hearing us,
Likewise,
I miss
Kareem.
you as well. Excuse me. Yeah.
Likewise, Kareem.
Anyway, let me just start by saying that there's a hats off to Zack Snyder. There's a hats off to the fans. There's a hats off to the movement and for the general audiences and the people who helped us along the way because they were of great help as well.
Yes.
Even bad media is media and they reached them. They spread the message really well.
Yes.
So when I watched the Zack Snyder Justice League, I was in awe, but I was also pretty drunk for the first time because me and my brother we promised each other that on every moment that's worth it we're gonna take a shot, and that's what we did. By the end of the 4 hours we woke up the next day and I told him, dude, did you see Jared Leto's Joker? Did we see Black Suit Superman? He's like, I don't remember any of that, but what we do remember was clapping, cheering, and jumping on these specific moments. So the
Wow.
next day we said, no, we're gonna relax, we're gonna sit down, and we're gonna focus on it, watch, and it was everything I wanted it to be from top to bottom. Visually speaking, it was masterful. The design on Steppenwolf was pretty awesome.
Oh man.
The the visuals on the Superman black suit were amazing, even though that was done in post production. I
Mm.
can safely say as well that the Batman was amazing because it's like his journey, his arc from going into a big, pit of bitterness and angriness at the world, has transformed him into a man who has hope, who wants to fulfill his arc, who wants to save the world and create the Justice League. That was an amazing, amazing catharsis for him because
Yes.
you know he has this different personality going on. There's hope inside him. That was amazing to see, and of course, the highlight for me was Barry Allen as Miller's Flash. You know that scene
Hmm.
that we talk about. That
Mm,
was a defining moment in all the movie. So all in all,
sure.
from what I can say, it's not that I just enjoyed it. When I was watching it, I was gut hurt all the time. There was this bittersweet pain inside me that's like, yeah, we did it, but now what? You
Right.
know, like, yeah, we did it, but now what? And every time the Foundation song or the crew of War Power at War Power played, I'm hurt because all these people I met online, on Twitter, on YouTube, all the articles I've read, it's all embodied or encapsulated in this one big movie. And this love letter to me, to you, to all the Snyder Cut fans, and everyone in general, it hurts me when I see the credits roll because I know deep inside that we have a long journey ahead of us, and this was only like a fraction of what we can accomplish, and
Right.
might not accomplish. Yeah.
Right. Wow. I love that. I love how you put that together. It's more than just something you enjoyed, but and I think that is the feeling for all of us. I think we when this came out, I think we were all having those mixed emotions. As you said, kind of just knowing what we knew happening of what happened in the background. I think like for every scene that I knew was just like a breath of fresh air from what we didn't get. I was like, it was a bittersweet feeling in the sense of like I finally get to see this, but at the same time I was like like I couldn't wrap my mind around like, why did you think this wasn't right? What about this movie that I'm watching right now that's so magnificent? What about it did you think was not what you was not the right thing to do? So that was happening, and then yeah, at the end, once you get to the end, I felt like there's got to be there's more. There has to be more. It can't just end this way. Marcelo, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts on it?
First, thanks for having us, Vega.
For sure.
And just like John Connor said, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance. The fight continues. Restore
Yes,
the Snyderverse. We're still
yes,
on this together.
yes.
Actually, I scheduled a few uh, presentations of the Snyder Cut. It was first
Nice.
with a couple of high school friends who were Snyder fans.
Mm,
The next day, it was going to be with some friends from the university who I introduced into the Snyderverse. And
mm,
afterwards, the next day after that one, it was going to be with my girlfriend. But
nice.
as the day of the premiere was closing in, I started to think to myself like, I gotta have this experience for myself alone. I have to see it once by myself, just to absorb it fully, and then I can watch it with my friends. Um, and not only because of that, because also I knew I was going to be crying throughout all of the film, and it actually happened.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
it actually happened.
Yeah.
No kidding. From the beginning, when Superman's dying and his echo goes throughout the world,
Yes,
there was a small tear. But as
yes.
the film kept going, each scene, each new scene, each interaction, which felt more meaningful, and as everything was coming together, I just thought that there wouldn't be any more tears left for in my eyes for the credits. But when the credits arrived and when the for autumn text
Yeah.
appeared, there were more tears. It seems like I had quite a um, supply of tears reserved for the credits. So I literally cried throughout the whole film the first time I saw it,
Yeah.
and then I was able to enjoy it with all of my friends. I can't say. I mean, I love it for what it is,
Hmm.
and I love the film as it is.
Hmm.
I wouldn't change anything from it.
Yeah.
There might be some things that I expected to be a little bit different,
Hmm.
but as it is right now, as it exists, I can't ask any more from it. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, And like Karim was saying, like there is this bittersweet feeling that this was just one step of the journey, but as we have it right now, it could hopefully not be the end of this journey. We
Right.
have to still keep fighting. But the thing is, it's so good. The film is so good, and it filled filled me with joy as a fan, that there is a part of me that thinks I can live my life and go forward knowing that this could potentially be the last piece of the Snyderverse. I won't
Mhm.
stop fighting unless Zack goes on live on Barrow or something and just says like, "Thank you, that was it. I'm moving forward with Rebel Moon, with 2 and 3, and I'm not coming back to DC." But unless Zack does something like that, I'm going to still keep fighting. But I can die happily knowing that I had the Justice League released along with you guys and everyone in the fandom.
Amen to that. Amen to that. I wish I would have thought as smart as you did on that note of like, you need to watch it for yourself to be able to truly, I guess, let go of all that emotion. Even though that for me, so it was funny because unfortunately I did watch it with everyone, so it was one of those like my eyes were getting so watery. I had to like, like just I'm not crying, guys. I'm not, what I'm saying, holding my tears because, I'm a man. but yes, I honestly, that first Superman scene, it just, yeah, it was weird because it was like the tears were like, it was like out of joy because of what I'm watching, just the artistic work of Zack, and but it was also even the story. Like I was also back. It was like it was so surreal. Like I'm okay. I'm back into the story. Like the story we've been missing out on for so long now. I'm now back in it, and I'm invested into this story. Like and the emotional roller coaster of every scene that did that. You're right. It's from the beginning to the end. Really, really, you are experiencing that between Superman, between even Batman's redemption to Cyborg's storyline. Everybody, there's an emotional core to it. And yeah, I wish I would have thought of that. I didn't think of that. So for me, it was like I was like, just trying to hold it in. You're like, oh my god,
And for
Um,
me, it meant that it was 8 hours of the day because I saw it by myself the same day that I was having my friends afterwards. So I
oh
saw
man,
the 4 hours twice on that day.
yeah. I see. What I did, I did a marathon of 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 what we knew was the Snyderverse up until that point. So I remember I had a viewing for for it was for Man of Steel and BVS one day where like everybody came over, we watched Man of Steel and BVS back to back. I mean, it's just great because it's always conversation after it, and then after that we continued with just for the sake of with Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman, back to back, kind of like so that way we could reassert ourselves in what should have been if the timeline was correct, right? um, and then after that, finally the following, I don't know if it was like the following or like 2 days after that, we did the Zack's Snyder's Justice League came out, and we all sat here watched it. It was such an amazing feeling because I will say, I guess it was a two-parter where it was like, one, I had to like reserve my tears for sure. I wasn't trying to get too emotional in front of everybody, but still with the people that I had over, they were just as hyped about the film. Uh, my God, Pinpoint Gaming, thank you for jumping on. Let's go. Yes, and everybody who was here, we were all like, between my brother, my it was all family, just to be clear. My brother, my nephews, cousins, we were all here. My uncle, and we were just like every scene that we're like, yo, like kind of just like, like getting just all hyped, for everything, and especially once Darkseid showed, it was, oh my god, everything that, even though we knew, even though we knew he was in the film, even though we knew Martian Manhunter was in the film, and all these things, even though we knew all these things, for some reason, watching it in live time, it was still a breath of fresh air. It was still like witnessing it for the first time, like, and just getting so excited about it, But this brings me to the next point that we've kind of been circling around right now, or just bringing it up, and that's that we know there's more. We know there's more to it. And for anyone who doesn't know, we're still fighting the good fight. It's now hashtag restore the Snyderverse, and I think anyone in their logical mind who saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, when you get to the end of the film, it doesn't feel like an ending. It just doesn't, It just doesn't feel like an ending. Where's Darkseid? I think that's where everybody's at right now. Like, where's he at? We know he's coming, right? That's how it ended. It ended with him saying, prepare the Armada. We're using the old ways, right? And it's like, okay, so he's definitely on his way. At least that's how that story ends there. That chapter, I should say, not the story, but that chapter. And I think from the fans as us, and even to the general movie watcher, that's what they're anticipating to come out next out of DC. Like, oh, okay, this big threat is coming, and I think that's what they're expecting. And unfortunately, Warner Brothers isn't delivering on it yet. But so, Kareem, what do you think should happen going forward from this movie? Like, what is it you expect Warner Brothers should be doing at this very moment?
To answer your question first, is it what I want them to do, or is it what you think Warner are going to be doing?
What you want them? What do you think they should do? Because we know what they're already doing. We see that they're playing their cards pretty out in the open, right? As far as Warner Brothers is concerned, I do reserve hope still with the merger of Discovery, Zaslav. He's kind of been, saying some things that are like, it almost seems like he has every intention to right the ship, to mend relationships with the directors that this studio clearly has, tarnished. Considering Snyder, Nolan, and so forth and so forth. But no, so like, yeah, what do you think they should do? Like, what do you want? What would be the wiser move here? Maybe what they should have done and what they should do now, even though they clearly haven't took the right step forward after this film.
Yeah, so basically they're preaching the multiverse right now. They're rebranding their label for DC as the multiverse, that any incarnation of any given character is now canon, and canon is a very big deal these days with general audiences. They want to make sure they can validate the existence of one character without canceling out another character from the head canon, as we call it. So with that in mind, I'd just like to say one thing to Warner: it's practice what you preach. Multiverse doesn't just apply to, God rest his soul, Christopher Reeve's Superman, or Michael Keaton's Batman, or
Right.
let's say Brandon Ruth and the CW verse. But from what I've been seeing, the multiverse is just an excuse for them to, put band-aids on bullet holes. It's like, yeah, it's a multiverse. Any incarnation, any adaptation can coexist,
Right.
because we obviously don't know how to do a centralized, more focused, more universal look at RDC characters, which is fine. Listen, I kind of understand that,
Right.
but on the other end of the spectrum, since I'm with you guys on board about this whole multiverse thing, where is my Justice League? Like, what Warner Brothers should definitely be doing is to adapt the Justice League.
Right.
Some people, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, I'm not gonna name them, they say we're far better off without Zack Snyder. Listen, I'll play ball with you. If we are far better off without Zack Snyder, then where is Warner Brothers taking us? If Warner Brothers was smarter than Zack Snyder, if Warner Brothers had more balls than Zack Snyder, then they would have made a statement of intent. And that statement of intent was showing us, hey guys, we've got a new Justice League slate coming out. We're
Yeah.
going to show you how Justice League is done. We're gonna give you Darkseid. We're gonna give you sequels. We're gonna give you a whole array of superhero shows, and we're gonna rebrand Superman the way you want Superman to be rebranded. We're gonna show you the real Joker, right?
Right.
But Warner Brothers is playing it smart. They're alienating Batman from their connected multi
Right,
and
right.
putting him in a place where Matt Reeves can do whatever he wants. And I'm, by the way, very excited for the Batman because it's unscathed by the Warner Bros. Meddling. Because
Mhm.
obviously, Matt Reeves said, if you want to interfere, I'm leaving this project. So
Right.
yeah, alienated Batman from the DCEU. Superman is a no-show. Uh, their Justice League is basically Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and they probably possibly integrate Harley Quinn with like a redemption story. So what Warner Brothers should definitely be doing is create a spine, like a heart to the DC universe that ties this multiverse together. You want to branch out to a multiverse. You need to start from the singularity, right? Like Big Bang happens, so many planets going on, so many different things. So
Hmm.
it all starts with the singularity, and that singularity is the Justice League. Kind of how like Marvel started off with the Avengers. You've got Avengers 1, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk. These are the essential Avengers, at least the
Hmm.
ones back then. And
Right.
then slowly, just slowly, they started branching out. Kind of like how I'm saying, you branched out into Ant-Man, you branched out into Guardians of the Galaxy, you branched out into Shang-Chi and Black Widow. So what I mean by that is imagine Marvel with all their resources, with all their power. After Avengers 1, they canceled, I repeat, they canceled Iron Man 3,
Right.
Thor 2, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and they chose to not continue the Avengers arc. But yeah, we're doing Ant-Man, we're doing Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
but movies will not be part of an Avengers plot. You
Right.
won't see Iron Man or Captain America anymore. They'll just be mentioned like, yeah,
Right.
Iron Man in the ICU. He was shot with a like whatever you call
Kryptonite bullet.
like EMP grenade, so he's like shocked and
Yes.
paralyzed. It's whatever Iron Man you want. It could be the animation Iron Man. It could be a black Iron Man. It could be an Arabic Iron Man. You get to choose who your Iron Man is. It's fine. It's fine. So for these people, I don't know if it's gonna reach the general people on Twitter. Guys, I understand you want to move on from Zack Snyder, but I'm not against someday in like 2027 when we have like big white beards and all that. Like, tell us, hey, there's a new Justice League movie with a clean slate. All right, give it to
Right.
me. But for now, the most plausible, the most logical, the easiest way forward is to have a Justice League because Marcelo here, Vega here, me, maybe Manu, who's with us in spirit, would all agree if they did Justice League 2 and 3, we might have Warner Brothers back. We might support what they're going out because in DC fandom last year, we were all in support for all their content. We were all preaching the multiverse. We're like, hell yeah, Wonder Woman 84. And even though it turned out to be a bad movie, if they had chosen to go with the Snyderverse, we would have been biased. We would have said
Yes.
Wonder Woman 84 was good because
Yes.
we are here to protect the DC brand
Right.
and we're here to protect everything that purposely serves a greater universe
Right.
for fans,
Exactly.
So we were all with you guys. What did you do? You dropped the ball so hard.
Yep.
Why did you do that to yourself, to your brand, to your fans? You alienated an entire fan base. And they still call us Zack Snyder fans. Yeah, we are. And listen, my priority is always DC. It's DC Comics, it's
Mhm.
DC new DC movies. And for me, the only one who actually gets that is Zack. It's not because I'm a Snyder fan.
No,
I,
no.
I became a fan of Zack after Batman versus Superman because I knew this guy is taking care of this property that is DC. You're
Yes.
taking care of our babies well, whether it resonates with a general audience or not. It's not my job. It's I'm a fan. It's not our job to give general audiences or spoon feed them like, hey, yeah, Superman smiling. Oh yeah, there's a cat here. Let me save it. No,
Yeah.
no. His job is to tell a story from A to Z that at
Yes.
least can shake some emotions inside us, and that's what Warner Brothers are failing to do. Even with the
Right.
Suicide Squad and the success of King Shark, where is that King Shark? Why isn't King Shark with Aquaman? They lack
Right.
connective tissue. They don't have a connected universe. They still can do Easter eggs and mentions and nods because they're afraid it might contradict one another. So
Right.
these are my 2 cents, and all in all, I just think Warner Brothers should restore not the Snyderverse, but just Give us a goddamn Justice League sequel or a threequel and just be done with it so you can branch out to your Peacemaker show, to your to your Blue Beetle show. I'm sorry I had to do that face because if you think Peacemaker should have more priority than Superman, your
Right.
greatest character, even greater than Batman, no offense, Batman fans, and alienate him the way you did, all you had to do to prove us wrong was after Justice League, just hire a new director, put Henry Cavill, write a goddamn script from beginning to end, show us what type of Superman you want to do. Why alienate Henry Cavill? Why delay the inevitable? Why not bring him back, put Brainiac in, bring in Supergirl, and just do this movie and show us, oh hey, maybe Zack got it wrong. I just wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt back then,
Right.
and they proved us wrong. They proved
Yes.
us you don't
Yes.
know how to handle your own properties. If
Yes.
you show us otherwise, I'm fine because at the end of the day, I want DC to succeed.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah, you make a good point there. I feel like that's the real question is, well, there's a few questions that I think are in what you said that I'll go ahead and pass to Marcelo. So I'll say this. We're talking about there has to be a foundation if you are going to branch out. If you're going to branch out, but you destroyed the foundation. I think we could all agree, right, that the foundation, if you could actually even say this, the foundation is actually BVS, right? Because it was at that very moment that the idea of there being more characters in this universe finally came to light, right?
The meta-human thesis, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because they refer to the metahuman thesis. You look at the clips, right? Oh, Aquaman, da da da. But there's still the metahuman thesis that is an overall general statement to there being more superpowered beings in our world, right? So we know that. But the question is is why, and Marcelo, you could answer this. Why do you think, despite us showing such grand support, like as Kareem said, when they finally announced that Zack Snyder's Justice League was coming out, and it looked like there was finally like this light shining through the dark cloud that was over Warner Brothers Studios. And they saw we pushed for their HBO Max. We pushed, we were excited for everything that was coming out at DC Fandom, right? Why do you think they could what do you think was the reason to them not or saying we're still not gonna just fully commit to what apparently is liked by the fans, right? That's the first question. The second question is why do you believe, and because I really feel this is the question, is that because if, let's just say, Warner Brothers was capable of convincing us that there was something better out there that they could do other than what Zack was already doing, why do you think they couldn't accomplish that? Was it their lack of vision, or was it that the actors weren't on board with actually changing what already was set? Were they actually already content with the storylines that were given to them by Zack and what they already the intended vision at that moment? What do you believe happened?
Well, trying to answer the first question, we have the now infamous message that Anne Sarnoff sent to all of the fandom about not pursuing anything from just a certain group of creators, that we have to enjoy all of their next offerings, but we can't hope for more from the same and previous creators that we knew about. Obviously, talking about Zack and David Ayer. So that's the closest that we've been to receiving confirmation that there won't be any more pieces of the Snyderverse. But the thing is, and this is very similar to the way I thought about release the Snyder Cut before its announcement, and it's that if they were absolutely sure that they are never going to release any more pieces of the Snyderverse or make any more movies of the Snyderverse, they would have already talked with Zack, and they would have reached an agreement, and they would have said, like, communicate to your fans that this is the end. And even if it's not Zack himself, there would have been more pressure on some of the different DC faces, let's say Jim Lee or even Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada I don't know, he might do it this fandom, I don't know, but he could show
Right.
up and say, we are really happy that the fans enjoy the Justice League and we are proud of that achievement. And now we can put the Snyderverse to rest while we look forward to the new DC multiverse, right?
Right.
So they could take a definitive stand on not restoring the Snyderverse, but they haven't done that. So just like it happened before the announcement of the Snyder Cut, I believe that there might be some unknown faces within Warner Bros. Who are still testing the ground and taking a look at the whole picture before taking this final stand, as I called it. Oh, by the way, what was the second question?
Second question was, um, why if Warner Brothers was so fixated on that they could give us something better than what Zack was already doing, what would it be? What would it be? One, I guess, right? Or why do you think that hasn't happened? Or do you believe that or do you believe it's their lack of creativity,
Yeah, right.
or was it that despite whatever they came up with, the actors weren't on board with it?
Right. So connecting with what I was saying on the first question, I believe that on this first phase, let's say this phase consisting of Shazam, the first Aquaman, and Birds of Prey, and maybe even Wonder Woman 84, I'd say there might have been quite a bit of lack of vision. All those different movies feel disconnected. All those different movies exist by themselves. So I believe that there was a lack of vision at that point. But what I believe now, and I'm afraid of it, is that they now have a vision, and that vision is the Flash movie. And it seems to be it seems it will do the same thing that Captain America Civil War did for Marvel, which is this Avengers 2.0, which will set the pieces for the next storyline. And
Right.
I'm afraid that this Flash movie will, as many of us in the fandom have expressed, erase the Snyderverse from existence.
Mm.
So that's what I'm afraid, that now they have a vision thanks to Walter Hamada, most probably, and that vision consists of, through the Flash, erasing the Snyderverse. There are different reports every now and then that say like Ben Affleck now is happy with the movie and he might return for a different project. Most of the time they come from unreliable sources, but the thing is, we won't be sure until we watch the movie. But I hope to be proven wrong, and that there will still be hope for the Snyderverse after the Flash. I'm afraid of their current vision. I don't have anything against Andy Muschietti, but I feel like he might be Warner Bros's yes man. Like they had conflict with all of the different directors that were coming for the Flash, but just like if you remember, the director of the latest
Mm-hmm.
Bond movie was going to direct the It movies, and
Mm-hmm.
he left after he had creative differences with Warner Brothers.
Right.
So I feel like Andy Muschietti is might be a yes man to
Yeah.
Warner Bros. And he might
Okay.
agree with all of their directives and their orders, and he just delivers the product that Warner Brothers wants. And I'm
Okay.
afraid of the Flash being the directive that the Snyderverse
Right.
must be erased.
Right. Okay.
I
I
mean, yeah.
oh no,
Sorry.
oh well, I was just gonna say, like, I think to add my 2 cents to that, I just feel like yeah, if every movie before the Flash, let's just say like the ones we've gotten, for sure we know they don't connect in any way, shape, or form. Really, not really, right? They do. They're more than they're more just standalones than they are connected movies, right? But yeah, if the fear is, I guess I can understand the fear of the Flash being this, you know, what is connected, but what's about to just confine, I guess, what was and to what is, what it's going to be. I don't know if you guys watch uh, Sil Abdul's channel,
No.
where he. If not, I would highly suggest you do. Sil, I'm hooking you up right now, plugging you in. Uh, it's called Coffee Talk, or sometimes it's Rogues Gallery. With he has different I guess moments throughout the week with his channel, but he he works together with this guy called Mikey Sutton, who is, I guess, one of the starters of Geekosity Mag. Um, and so the whole point is that I guess the talks that I've been hearing there is that um, I guess apparently Andy is trying to connect the Flash more to the Snyderverse than anything. That's the talk. The talk is that Ben Affleck, when he got offered the I guess the job to, like, hey, do you mind coming back, blah blah blah. It came with the condition that he had to rewrite his part of the story. Like, so there's even been rewrites to the script according to what Ben Affleck wanted from Batman. Um, and now there's apparently going to be more characters that do exist within the Snyderverse. I guess supposedly, we are going to see Wonder Woman there, Aquaman, even Superman apparently is going to make an appearance in the movie. Martian Manhunter's in the movie, and that was a big one for me when I heard that one, because I'm like, okay, now you really are trying to connect this. If you're going to add Martian Manhunter, that's an exclusive character, literally, that only we've gotten in Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then nowhere else, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like there is a connective tissue. But yeah, I guess the fear would be, are you using this? Is this movie going to be what allows you to course correct back to what you were doing with Zack? Or as you said, or is this to, wipe the slate, start fresh? And I would hope it's let's just course correct back to what we were doing. But go ahead, Kareem. What do you?
Yeah. I wanted to answer this question you just posed on us. It's like, are they trying to get back to everything being normal, or they're just trying to wipe out the slate? It's, for me, I tend to read a lot about the Flash movie. It intrigues me because everything, like the fate of the Snyderverse lies solely on this movie. The fate of DC itself
Yep.
lies on this movie. Like, this movie is gonna be the foundation for what's to come. They're gonna
Yes.
have to tease the next plan, the next slate, because when you open the slate on Google or whatever, you see that the only movie after the Flash is Aquaman, right?
Right.
There's no other movies being planned. So Flash or Flashpoint is like the foundation for what is to come. And the thing is, and it's just that they can't wipe the slate too clean, because they've got Shazam. They've got Shazam versus Black Adam at some point. They're gonna have to do that, right?
Right.
They've already established Black Adam by the time Flashpoint comes out. There's Wonder Woman 3 probably in the works, because Patty Jenkins is gonna be in DC fandom. That's a probable thing to happen. The Flash, they're gonna want to have a sequel for him with Reverse Flash, because he's definitely not gonna be in the movie. He's gonna be name dropped, apparently speaking. They also have this J.J. Abrams produced Superman movie. I hope, by the way, it never sees the light of day. I don't like J.J. Abrams. Nothing against Superman, just J.J. Abrams because of what he did to Rise of Skywalker. Personally, for that. There's a pretty big slate of superheroes that they just can't wipe out of existence. So
Right.
what I hear, the Flash movie is gonna serve as a merger between timelines. Like, it's gonna erase, conveniently enough, the things it doesn't want in its universe anymore, and introduce the things it wants. So it's not gonna be like the classic Flashpoint where Barry saves uh, his real Earth by erasing Earth 2 or Earth 1, whatever that's called. It's
Right.
gonna be like a merge that happened. But my thoughts on that is that if Michael Keaton's Batman's gonna be in our main Earth, the one that's supposedly the Snyder world or the Aquaman world or the Shazam world, how is Ben Affleck gonna be erased from existence, given that there's no like Thomas Martha Wayne dynamic? Like, who's gonna send the letter to Ben Affleck? Is Flash gonna go back to the Batcave to tell Ben Affleck's Batman, it's like, "Hey Bruce, I did it," and then he's gonna look around and be like, "Oh, where's Bruce?" And then when
Right.
he comes out, he sees like, "Hey, it's Bruce Wayne. It's Bruce Wayne. Oh, there is Bruce Wayne." And then you know, like,
Yeah, I had that same question the other day, and I thought to myself, like, okay, I know the talks were, oh, Ben Affleck or the Batfleck, whatever, that he's no longer gonna die, right? So that was like, oh, hey, cool, yeah. But then I thought to myself, just recently, I'm like, Warner Brothers are so freaking slick that the lingo could be, he doesn't die, but what if he gets wiped
exactly
from
what.
existence, from that timeline, you know?
And I've sort of developed a sixth sense when it comes to news and scoopers and what's gonna happen because of how much I read about that stuff. And I really feel like the letter thing from Thomas to Bruce is gonna be replaced with, and that's a hunch, right?
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
still be in contact by the time Flash comes out. Feel like Ben Affleck's Batman's gonna be leaving or dropping a letter for Barry's Flash when he comes back to the cave and be like, "Hey, I did it. Like I fixed things." And
right.
then that letter would probably be like, "I knew this was gonna happen, and I was gonna like vanish or some kind of thing, but there will
Yeah,
always be Batman hanging around." And then he goes out to free his father and plead not guilty, and then he sees Keaton's Bruce Wayne coming because that's from the leaked photos. He's at the end scene with
right,
Supergirl lying down, and that probably means Superman's gone, Batman is gone, but because Supergirl is the replacement for Cavill and Keaton is the replacement for Affleck. So there
right,
can be two incarnations in the same place, right? So
right.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman are relatively the same ones in the second Earth, you know, and
Yep.
they're gonna be wiped out. So when he goes back, it's gonna be Jason, Keaton, Sasha Callis, and possibly Zachary Levi, Black Adams, the Rock's Black Adam.
Right.
Yeah, basically it's like a merge. We clean what we want and keep what we want.
Now, see, and so yeah, and that is a fear of mine, because it's like I don't, that doesn't. Why would you settle for like, oh, our Batman was old, but we're gonna settle for an older Batman? You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what sense does that make? It just makes no sense unless they're really trying to do this whole, literally switching things up, and they're really focused more on. And again, which makes no sense because this goes back to your first point, Kareem, and that's that. Why are you trying to isolate your core characters that are the foundation to everything else, just to bring in fresh ideas or fresh characters that aren't going to, in my opinion, really bring in the revenue that you're looking for. And this is,
And if I
yeah,
might add there,
go ahead, yeah,
it frustrates me. Again, taking Karim's point, it frustrates me that we're having or seeing so many announcements of bad family characters and productions, and we don't have a Batman for that universe. We had this Batgirl actress saying that, as far as she knows, Batman is not around. He's busy doing other things, and
right,
it's like when it was so frustrating on Birds of Prey that there are significant things happening on Gotham City, and Batman's nowhere to be found, not even Commissioner Gordon. Apparently, we're going to have J.K. Simmons on the Batgirl movie, but what about Batman? You can't go forward like that. It's just like Karim said. You can't go on from the Avengers without having Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor around. It
right,
makes no
yes.
sense.
It really doesn't make sense. Real quick, let me just shout out these guys. Pinpoint Gaming again. Thanks for dropping by. Lord Koj, my homie, my brother. Appreciate it, my dude. So yeah, no, I agree. Like, um, it just doesn't make sense, and it's definitely frustrating to see again all these other Bat family characters, and yet the main guy who brings that family together is not around. It doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
And even as Kareem stated earlier, like I guess I have this reserved feeling when it comes to the Matt Reeves Batman. that it is bitter in a sense because it's like that was technically supposed to be Ben Affleck's project that Warner Brothers, and really and truly, if you really consider what happened and what they did, they stole that from Ben Affleck, um, and it's so it's kind of like a bitter feeling there. It's like but it's supposed to be Ben's project, even to the point where I'll state, and I've stated this before in other places, and that's that when it comes to the idea of multiple villains showing up for a film, we know for a fact that that was actually Ben Affleck's idea, and that's what he intended to do with his movie, right? So I kind of feel like, though I'm sure Matt Reeves did his own thing, the idea of multiple villains showing up to take on Batman, we know was technically Ben Affleck's idea, right? Who knows to what extent, and how it was going to happen. I would assume it's, we know for sure from Zack Snyder's Justice League that, Lex tells Deathstroke his name is Bruce Wayne. Then Deathstroke has this like smirk, like, now I know who he is, and I'm pretty sure from what I heard, we were supposed to get like an Arkham origin style movie where apparently there's going to be like all these guys putting out a hit on Batman too. So I don't know to what extent, but
one interesting thing to consider is the boards that Zack shared, where Riddler is part of the second Justice League, and Zack has mentioned that the Riddler was going to be the villain on Ben's movie.
Ben's movie.
And
Yep.
as we know, the Riddler is still the villain on Matt Reeves' movie. But
Exactly.
now we know that the intention was for Ben to face Deathstroke. So considering those two things, I believe that there might have been a point where they actually thought about it and split the movies. And Ben chose to go ahead with Deathstroke, and I don't know if Riddler might have had an appearance on the movie, but I don't feel like he would have been the main villain as it is on the Matt Reeves movie, and it would have seemed to be the villain on the original plan as explained on the board. So I believe that there might have been already those ideas of splitting the Batman character.
Yeah, so what I think, I don't, because that was actually my other point to why you can, you do know a bit that what we're getting from Matt Reeves is still something similar to what we were going to get, and that was my next point, was the Riddler connection, because we now know also that Riddler was supposed to, was a part of whether he still was or wasn't, I'm not sure, but we do know he was supposed to show up in the Batman, and that's why he shows up in the Justice League 2 and 3, whatever. But that was what I saw. And this is where you connected, is because even it's about all the villains, right, that we see Lex apparently reach out to, that lets there was definitely more array of villains than what we know now, or what we have at this point, that were supposed to appear. Now the question really is, to me, I guess, for me, I take Matt, and this is what, like I said, it's that bitter feeling. But on the other side, I do like Matt Reeves as a director. I know he can put together a phenomenal film, and even when you look at the cast, the cast is a very great cast. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form doubting that this movie is going to be a hit. I just, for me, it even could do good as a standalone, right? I mean, we know that this is the thing with Warner Brothers. I never had an issue with doing standalone films that are separate from the now what we call the Snyderverse, right? And I never really had an issue with that. That's fine. You could do that all you want. I mean, Joker was a phenomenal film, and it doesn't connect in any way, shape, or form, and it still made you $1 billion. And I feel Batman could do the very same thing. It is that type of film, or even that character that brings in that kind of revenue, whatever. But can we suspect that this movie might also not do so well because of the disconnectivity, right? Because it no longer connects to, because we're still getting these films that are, there's no connective tissue, right? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think personally it's gonna do well because of the lack of connectivity. Because the Batman itself, he transcends the DC label. Like every single person in the world wants to watch Batman.
Right,
They don't want to watch Batman with all the hassle of having the need to watch every movie in the DCEU library, like in
right,
the DCEU or the worlds of DC, whatever you want to call
right,
that. Nobody wants to ponder the question like, what should I watch before I watch the Batman? They want to make sure when they go inside, they're gonna get all the information, knowledge, or story commitment easily. So
right,
in regards to the Batman, and this entity is a very risky entity or property at Warner Brothers, nobody wants to interfere. Nobody wants to do the Hamada effect or the Joss Whedon effect on, because they know when they lose Batman, they lose every single person in the world.
right,
Kind of, you know, Matt Reeves' Batman is not connected because Matt Reeves does not want to connect it. And Matt Reeves specifically toward Warner Brothers, if you're going to interfere in my movie, just get another director. And that's fine. I have millions of other projects on standby. I can go ahead and do them. There's
right,
no hard feelings. He's your character. You do you. But then Warner were like, oh, yeah, you know what? We're going to give it to you. Hands off. We promise. And that's essentially what happened, because if you were tracking the story in 2016, he left the project. He actually left the
right,
project, and then they lured him back in because they probably like struck a deal that there's a hands-off policy in terms of the Batman.
right,
And what I can tell, he's building a universe in itself. Like he's doing a Bat universe with the
right,
Pink spin-off, the Catwoman spin-off, the GCPD, which is something I admire and I commend, because Matt Reeves is just a classy guy. Remember, he's the guy who wished Zack Snyder good luck. He's the guy that probably supports him, but not so publicly, because at the end of the day, you've got an organization or a studio atop of you. You can't just say things so bluntly.
right,
And he's not so flashy. He's keeping it to himself. He's doing all the work low key. He's not like uh, he's not stepping on anyone's toes. He's just doing his own thing, his own universe. And that's
right.
something that the way Warner Brothers treat the Batman property or the IP or whatever you want to call it is something I love them to very much do with Superman. If you want to go ahead, as you said, and do separate solo movies, do right by Superman, please.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But J.J. Abrams is trying to give you a Superman movie.
I'm a wise person. I've seen, for example, James Gunn's Suicide Squad. I'm on board with his vision. I'm on board with any single person's vision, but I'm not on board with J.J. Abrams. I'm not. I've seen the Suicide Squad more than 10 times. I've
Mhm.
seen The Prey more than 10 times. I've seen Wonder Woman 84 more than 10 times, because that's the type of person I am. I I I I give my loyalty to DC blindly,
Mhm.
even though I'm disappointed because I feel like they've given me so much in my life.
Mhm.
But the J.J. Abrams project is unmerited because Henry Cavill deserves a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance and a fifth chance.
What if they tell you, as a Superman fan, what if they tell you can get both? Would you still be upset then, or would you say, all right, I'll watch J.J. Abrams Superman since I'm still getting my Henry Cavill Superman?
As much
Just
as
out of
I love
curiosity.
as much as I love DC, I love Star Wars more. And for me, and I'm not gonna get into a Star Wars debate because that's toxic as hell, and you're gonna see another side of Kareem that you don't want to see.
I'm curious, low key now. Because I could talk Star Wars, but let's stick to DC for now.
But for me, he's a franchise destroyer. Like he did Lost, it was genius, but then he left.
Lost is genius.
Yeah, but he left the project.
Yeah.
He left it for Damien Lindelof, I think, or whoever that was.
Damon Lindelof was in church.
Yeah.
Yes, he left it because he didn't know how to do an ending. And then he goes to Star Trek. He does a good movie. Then the second one is like, nah. And then it just got ruined from there. And then you go to Star Wars, Force Awakens, a recycled A New Hope, and then he's brought back to do Rise of Skywalker. But then, just like Joss Whedon was being like stuffed with information from Walter Hamada and the corporate execs to do Justice League in a certain way. Definitely the same thing happened with Star Wars. If you might ask me sometime, I'd say Rise of Skywalker is the equivalent of Joss Whedon's Justice League, you know, and
Hmm.
it's and the signs are all there.
You
It's all there.
I,
So
okay? Hold
J.J.
on. Yeah.
somewhat
Yeah.
but if you tell me Matthew Vaughan or Vaughn, whatever you want to call him, or Dennis Villeneuve is coming to do Superman, or George Miller or Christopher McQuarrie, who actually pitched a Superman movie with Cavill for Warner Brothers,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go ahead and flash this hashtag saying no, I want Zack Snyder and only Zack Snyder. No, because these guys are great directors. They probably have a different vision from Zack, but they're creative, they're authors, they're people who know what they're doing, you know. And if they've got something to tell me, I'm curious to listen, you
Hmm.
know.
Okay.
So that's when I say, if you want me to just like Marcelo that said, die easily or like live easily, like without the Snyder first, you've got to give me something that will tell me, here you go, this is a universe in itself,
Yeah.
you know. This is a movie that you can get by, this is a movie we can all share and love, because that's all we want to do, you know, like
Yeah.
love Superman, love Batman, cheer for them, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. No, I like that, man. I don't know if I agree on the Star Wars end. I mean, I do agree to a certain degree, but I don't know if I agree that I'm gonna put the blame all on
oh no,
JJ and make it
that's
seem like he's the fault at what happened there.
not, it's not his fault, it's his fault for succumbing to Kathleen Kennedy's
Right. Okay. That
the
just making sure. Just have to make sure because I was like, man, you attacking JJ like it was all him. Everybody knows there was people in the background that was actually making decisions.
exactly, but that's what I blame him for
Yeah.
listening to people in the background. All you had to say was no. Just like Matt Reeves told Warner Brothers, no, I won't do it if you interfere.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. I do believe. I wish he had more spine in that case scenario. But even then, it's the fact that he left the project in the first place, and you know, the Last Jedi really. I have mixed feelings about that. Like it could have worked, but there's definitely things that I feel why it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
but I know everybody has mixed feelings about that. There's people that love it. There's people that hate it. I'm somewhere in the middle. Um,
I loved
but
it, by the way. Just
you
like,
loved it. I loved it at first just because I'm like, I felt it was very. I felt it had a similar vibe, somewhat, to BVS in the sense of it took a hero of mine and it kind of brought him down. But the more I watched it, the more I realized the creativity behind that was so lame. It's not even on par with
correct.
what Zack did with Batman. You know what I mean? It's really not the same length of or how do I say it? The gravity of what brought Batman down
Yeah.
doesn't compare to what they used as the gravity to bring Luke down. But anyways, Marcelo,
Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't had the chance to speak with Karim too much about the Star Wars, but about what you were saying, Vega, about it being somewhat similar to BBS, and about my appreciation about of the Last Jedi. The thing for me, okay, first off, I don't care and I don't like anything about the Canto Bight scenes. I don't care for Rose's and Finn's adventure on the casino.
Mhm.
I'm quite disappointed by the things that happened with Poe and the pink-haired lady. But I was enjoying the different conversations and developments between Ray and Luke. What disappointed me about those characters and the narrative that was being built between or maybe around Luke is that we assume he's been at least some 5 or 7 years with this philosophy in his mind about the Jedi being the guilty ones on all of the conflicts and stuff like that. And I was on his side. I was like, yeah, Luke, you are right about some of those things, right? But what disappointed me is that on the last 10, 15 minutes, Luke takes a 90 degrees turn and he's like, no, the Jedi are fine again. they are all good. Go and become a Jedi, Ray. Yeah, you were right all along. I was wrong. Like I think that if I could have rewritten the script, like he should have found Luke needed like a balance. Like, look, the Jedi failed in the past, and we need balance in the galaxy. So Rey, go create something new. The Jedi and the Sith are problematic, but the galaxy and the balance of the Force need something new. That's just my fiction, my own fiction.
Yeah, your own. You know what? And look, you actually brought up a good point, and this is another reason too why. But I feel I'm opposite, and what I mean by that is that, and it kind of ties into what I said, where the gravity of what made him go back made no sense whatsoever, in the sense of like when you see what he was up against in the original trilogy. You know what I mean? His own father was a mass murderer, and he somehow still managed to see the light in his own father. I had a premonition that this kid is about to go south, and I have to, like, it doesn't add up. Like, it just really didn't add up. And then this idea of changing his philosophy of the Jedi coming out of nowhere kind of also was like, like, you know, we don't even, and this is what kind of upset me there, was because it was like, are you talking about what happened before you came and became a Jedi? Is that what got you thinking twice about the Jedi, or are you talking about what happens when you became a Jedi and what followed you afterwards? Neither of the two really connect to him having this grand philosophy of saying the Jedi were bad. Nothing really sticks for me personally. Like, you know, that I felt was attainable to say, yeah, I buy the story. It makes sense. Yeah, because again, it just didn't make sense because, like, you know, before him, and you still became a Jedi, bro. So that doesn't make sense. And you kind of had, at that point in time, we know for sure, like, you were the one dictating where the Jedi were gonna go after Episode 6. So what did you do? You know, like, so is it? Are you disappointed in yourself and where you took it, and what you thought the Jedi were? You know, out of your own translation, with, you know, doing the best that you could do, because I mean, he was the only Jedi really at that time, right? But anyways, yeah.
And just to bring it back to DC, I just wanted, because I feel like we're about to leave the Batman behind, the Matt Reeves movie. I just wanted to say, I'm feeling, my feelings towards the Batman are the same way I felt about the Joker movie, in which that I didn't really care for it, and when I watched it, I really enjoyed it. But the thing for me is that when I used to support DC movies, I supported them by going like Kareem. Well, not 10 times. I don't know if you've actually gone 10 times, but
not the theater, bro. Not the theater. Theater, it's like once or twice. The first time alone, second time with a friend. So because when I go into a theater, there's the biasness of the Snyderverse in my head. So I'm like, when I go in, I'm not gonna like it. So when I watch it, I'm like, okay. Second time is like, imagine you're watching it without the Snyderverse bias in your head. The third time is like, you know, I'm gonna show it to my friends, and I want to genuinely hear what a general audience member is gonna have to say about this movie. Right. So I force myself as this mental exercise, like, imagine you're someone else and just watch that thing, you know? Because I don't want to be a biased person in my life. I always want to have an eye for different things. That's it. You go on.
For sure.
I think
he's frozen. Yeah, I think he froze. You know, and I get what you're saying, though, to just pick up. Marcelo, if you could just hop back in whenever you can. I agree. You know, if you watch these films with the unconnected bias of what we know the Snyderverse is, they're definitely more enjoyable to that degree. But I think that is what haunts all these movies, is that the Snyderverse does exist. And the Snyderverse is the most, how do you say, wanted product, I think, that we want, and we're not getting it. So it's kind of hard to really enjoy these films for what they are, because, you know, you're sidelining us, you know. heavy, so and instead of like continually building on this universe that we know exists and that's great, you're for whatever reason not what's going on here, man?
Because sorry, I don't know. I'm having everyone's well some connection problems. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're
Uh,
good, bro, you're good.
so Karim was saying this about he saw on the movies on theaters maybe twice, right, or
Yeah,
three times.
yeah,
So for me, when I enjoyed or I was dedicated to the DC movies and the
right,
DCU when Zack was on board, I went to see them at least four times. I used to
yeah,
go to them on the theaters quite a few times.
Yeah.
So the thing for me when Joker was released, I enjoyed it. I saw it once and never saw it again on the theater because the same way you feel, Vega, about the Batman, I knew that there were talks about having a Jared Leto Joker film around the same time that the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie entered production. So I
hmm
know that in an alternate universe where everything went according to plan, we had a Jared
yeah,
Leto Joker movie instead of the
yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix one. While the Joaquin Phoenix one is excellent,
yeah,
I'm not involved in that universe. So
right,
I don't.
I hear
So
you.
there is all this controversy between the different sections of the fandom of you can't support any of the movies if they are not part of the Snyderverse,
Right,
and I'm not like that. But the thing is, if you believe that me going once is supporting them, it won't be like that because I supported them by going to see them four times at least.
right,
So I'll go see the Matt Reeves Batman movie, but
right,
I might not end up supporting supporting the movie the same way I did the Snyder movies.
Exactly.
right. I get that. So how do I say, like, I never, I'm not one to say you can't support any other movie, whatever. And yeah, that, and I actually do get the logic. Don't get me wrong. I really do get it. Like, um, yeah, obviously with their, more the mission statement there is the less you support, the more it should be illuminating to them that this isn't what we really want. Um,
By the way.
but right, exactly. So and again, for me, it's that it's not that I don't want them to do anything different or that they can't. My thing is just just get back on board. And similar to you, I would say, I can't say that I only saw the Joker once. That movie was so good. I saw it, I saw it at least 4 or 5 times in the theater.
Wow.
Yeah, in the theater with different people because I just felt that movie was that good that I needed people to see this movie. Like, yo, this movie is really good. Um, and this is why, again, I don't mind standalone films as long as they're done well, right? Um, if as long as the director is giving me a film that I can, and this is what I'll say, a film that I feel matches the style that DC Films thrives off of. And what I mean by that is the word dark tone is really thrown so loosely that I feel people think it's all about rated R,
Yeah.
and it's not. That's not the case at all. Like, what makes DC films, I guess, what they are, and I always take people back. It's look at the, even before Nolan, like even the Batman movies before then, there was a more serious tone, it really, or no, I'll say that dark tone theory works for films before Nolan, right?
The
Where
thing is that the haters turned a dark tone into an attack
yeah,
for
yeah, and
DC
it's
films. They
exactly, and
were
it's and
greedy, they were dark,
right,
but they were not negative words before.
yeah, exactly, and that's my point. But now when we get to Nolan, this is where I feel it all changed the landscape for what DC films should have been,
Yeah.
what they could have kept being, or once he passed the baton to Snyder. And it's taking these comic book movie characters and giving us these stories that have so many more underlining messages,
Yeah.
in-depth, thought-provoking philosophies and things of that nature in the movie. You know what I mean? where it's not like I'm not just watching a comic book movie. I'm actually watching a movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean, with comic book characters. You know, and I felt that the art there was so rich. You know, and being able to accomplish that, where you could take this comic book character known as Batman and his villains, and somehow make it so that it connects to the world that I live in on so many levels, rather than just a one layered level, you know. And that's what we got with, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy, and you know, then when he passes the baton to Snyder, it continued in Man of Steel. You got that. It's like it's this comic book character that we all love, but the underlining messages behind the film in the movie, the depth, the in-depth thoughts that you should be thinking between, you know, the underlining messages are there, where your mind is just really soaking in the things that are being said, the things that are being shown, on a grander level than just I'm entertained. It's not just about being entertained. It's about I'm really contemplating my life right now, you know. Um,
exactly.
and you got that with BVS, and I felt that that was what they needed to stick to, is making the, as far as the film goes, like as far as movies go, right? That's what was setting you apart. And I think I felt like Joker did that. The movie The Joker did that, where it was like it took this villain that we all know, and it made this origin story that you know, we've never really gotten, like, you know, bits and pieces here and there, but apart from the comic relativity, apart from the comic relativity, the movie had depth as far as the messages, the message behind the story that was being told, whether it's, you know, from political to mental health and things of that nature. There were so much things happening that were even how do you say, very relevant to what was happening at the time in real life, especially here in the States with the protests and the riots and things of that nature. There was just so much connectivity to real life with a comic book character,
Yeah,
and I felt the Joker landed that. You know, that movie landed that fine, or I mean, not fine, very well. And I felt that that's what DC films, to me, what it offers best. And yes, the cherry on top is the rated R, where you can get a bit gruesome, you can get a bit, you know, dark with it, but that's not what makes those films. It's the storytelling that's so in depth. With, again, the rated R cherry on top that allows us to, you know, oh, the blood, you know, things of that nature, you know, that just make it a bit more realistic.
but
Uh,
I'm not a
you
fan
know,
of the R-rated just because it denies a very big audience. You know, it marginalizes a very big kid audience. You know, like Dark Knight is as dark as it gets for our superheroes, but then again, it's PG-13, right? You don't need to make a statement by making it R-rated. You know, you don't need that excessive blood in a comic book movie, regardless if it's serious and for adult-oriented people. It's just that it really pushes aside a lot of people who actually love those characters, and just for a few f bombs and a few blood clots here and there, I don't really like it, except when it's Joker, because you know the Joker has some seriously messed up ideas of what he wants to do with people, you know.
right.
But yeah, I get your point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely. The
Yeah.
thing for me is like Birds of Prey, I feel could have been a PG-13 movie, mostly
Oh, yeah.
without any problems. So, but the
Right.
Joker, its themes and the way it handles them, it's a bit harder for a younger audience to deal with them. But
Right.
so the R rating on the Joker feels like it's deserved. But things,
Yeah.
movies like Birds of Prey, barely
No,
needed the
it
R
didn't.
rating.
It really didn't. And yeah, so okay, and I can agree with that. Like, I feel like it's not a, yeah. Don't make it seem like, oh, we could put rated R here. This is what makes us the you know, what makes us us. And it's like, no, if you don't need it, you don't have to use the rated. Don't go rated R if you don't need it. But if you need it, for sure, put it, because again, yeah, you don't want a kid to watch the movie Joker. But uh, I felt like if it was an experiment, I felt it landed well, in the sense of, even when you have a movie that doesn't cater to children, it can still make over $1 billion.
Yeah,
And that's
definitely.
what you have to realize. It's not kids that buy tickets, it's the adults that make money, that go to work, that buy tickets. And if they're really intrigued by a film, uh, they will invest in it, even if it's that they have to go pay the babysitter to watch the children, or hey, go, spend this night with grandma so I could go watch. You know what I'm saying? They will do it. You know what I mean? Or whatever, however they got to go about it,
But
they
then
will
again,
do it.
Vega, well, like with all respect, Justice League is not the Joker. I know it's not kids who pay for tickets, but yet again, they are superheroes that you and I and Marcelo grew up to watch, and
Yeah.
we didn't watch them in R-rated form, right? I became a DC fan solely because of Smallville, and Smallville is definitely this corny, but intentionally corny show about Superman, about hope, about optimism, but done the right way. Like if you remove all the soap opera that's happening in between.
Hmm.
So when I hear my Justice League is gonna be R-rated, yeah, there's a side of me who loves that because I don't care. I wanna see my characters go through the darkest of journeys because at the end of the tunnel there's gonna be hope, and hope is gonna be even stronger when you're going down an even darker road. But
Yep.
I can't blame. That's the only thing I don't blame Warner for is that yeah they're against this R-rated mindset when it comes to the Justice League because we want to brand our heroes for not for kids specifically, but for everyone, and
No,
that's Dark Knight.
that's actually a good point. But now my counter argument would be: do you really feel Zack Snyder's Justice League can't be watched by kids? Do you really
Oh,
feel that?
it can, but
You get what I'm saying? So like, I feel like the R rating there is more so just to cover their butts. Like, it has got some foul language. It's got maybe some
yeah,
heads
yeah.
chopped off here and there, some blood.
Yeah,
But
the only two bloody things that I would have kept on the movie somehow, but still make it a PG-13 movie, is the Amazon that's hacked by Steppenwolf's axe while he's
mhm,
being tangled, and Steppenwolf being beheaded. Now,
yeah,
those two things could still have been on the movie and be brutal. And you know how they do it on PG-13 movies where they use different camera angles to hide it a bit. But I believe that the R rating was because of the F word
yeah,
bombs that the cyborg dropped and stuff like that.
yeah,
It could have been a PG-13 movie, but I don't have, of course, any problem with it being R. And I believe, like you said, that kids can watch this movie and not be traumatized by it
yeah.
the way Joker could have affected them.
Right, exactly. That's so that's where I'll be like, I feel like they, sometimes you just put an R rating to fair warning. If you do have problem with swear words, it's in there. If you have problem with some blood, it's in there. But I don't feel this movie was it's not on the same level as Joker, where it's really that gruesome, or even the language barrier, whatever. But what I will say too is that yeah, DC for sure, like as you said, Kareem, I don't feel that it obviously, yeah, it wasn't the R rating when I was a kid that caught me. But what I will say about even the animated series, when I used to watch it, and even now when I rewatch it, just because I'm like, yeah, man, let me get some nostalgia. I feel like the the things that were said in those cartoons, if you were a kid, it probably went over your head, like because you didn't understand what they were really, saying or poking fun at. But as an adult, now that I watch it, I'm like, holy cow, like that's an adult joke. Like, like only someone who knows, what I'm saying? Like, so there's very mature content, is what I'm trying to say, within even their things that they are supposed to be for children. There's still some sort of adult content, mature content within it that as an adult, I when I watch it, I'm like, holy cow, I totally missed that as a kid, but now I get it as an adult, like, yeah.
Exactly. And to pick up on where you left off in terms of animation, like the Harley Quinn show for me, it's honestly a masterpiece. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but this is the type of energy that I wanted in Birds of Prey. There's a lot of people, obviously, on Twitter again, that say we don't want more female oriented depictions on screen. That's wrong because I've seen the Harley Quinn show. I love the energy. I love how they're poking fun at tropes, at the seriousness and the dark undertones of DC. I love that. And if it was as 50% as daring as the Harley Quinn show, I think Birds of Prey would have succeeded.
Right.
And it's not that we want Batman in Birds of Prey or Joker in Birds of Prey. We just want an uninsulting mention of them, an uninsulting reference. Like imply that they exist in a way that doesn't insult us. Kind of like how the Superman is in the ICU thingy in Suicide Squad. That's kind of insulting because
Mhm.
we know that Superman isn't in the DCU currently, you know?
Right.
So if there was just a small nod to Batman, Joker doing their thing, if Gordon was in the GCPD, little things like that can make a huge difference, both with the hardcore fan and the general audience.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No,
The
I
thing is,
agree.
you can think of those scenes, for example, on the second Thor movie, where Loki transforms into Captain America. The thing is, Marvel has all of the actors on their grasp. So if they just want to make a small pong about Loki transforming and in talking like Steve Rogers, they have Chris Evans on the phone and ready to come and shoot those small scenes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
one would expect that
Yeah.
the thing is what they could do even less than what Studio Squad did with Ben Affleck, but just have him appear for a brief scene with Gordon talking on a rooftop like, hey, things are happening at Ace Chemicals. And then he has to say something like, no, I have to go take care of this thing elsewhere. And
Yeah.
then we can understand why Batman's not around, but not him just not never appearing or being mostly mentioned on the movie.
But I feel like this also falls back on the question I imposed in the beginning to, is it just that these actors are not on board with whatever new vision they have? Where
That's
it's like,
not it.
just because, I mean, I just feel like, and the only reason I pose this question is because, again, these movies are so isolated from what's come before it that
Yeah.
it's like, to what extent is it my worth or value to be in this film? Even what is it really? Because none of it really connects, and I don't even think I'm not even convinced that doing that would connect it, because it's almost like saying is that not what we got from Justice League? You know what I mean? The Justice League took all the characters in it, right? And uh, 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 so it should all connect, but there's still a disconnection. You feel the disconnection
Yeah.
when you watch that film. So I'm not so sure even putting these characters really makes that solid a solid connective tissue. I think when you think of story plot and well, tone is one thing, but I'm not even most of the tone, but just the story plot. If it doesn't really truly cater to what came before it, then it doesn't it still doesn't connect. And I think it would have just been like, oh, this character's in this universe as well. Um, whether it was like Birds of Prey or Studio Squad, as Marcelo said,
Yeah,
um,
but then again, like Birds of Prey began with Harley Quinn breaking up with the Joker. If Jared Leto was there and we actually saw a confrontation at some point, kind of like the Harley Quinn show, I get back to that because they
Mhm.
did the breakup really well. Harley
he,
became a thing of her
But
own.
what comes before Harley Quinn show? You get what I'm saying? No, no, you don't like. There's nothing this is why I think the Harley Quinn show succeeds. Is because there's no connective tissue. They're picking up a story wherever they want to. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're continuing the story from the animated
Yeah,
Batman
but
series or
Foundation and Suicide Squad for the relationship between Joker and Harley. So us seeing Jared and Margot interacting in Birds of Prey would have been very believable and more.
would it though? Would it though?
What?
Yeah, that's
In
the
this,
thing precisely. The funny thing is, both Studio Squad and Whedon's League uh, wiped many of the threads that were being built.
Yeah.
For example, we now know that Harley would have broken up with the Joker on the Suicide Squad movie, David's Suicide Squad. But the way Studio Squad ends, we know that Joker ends up escaping with Harley. So, like Karim says, we should have had a scene with Jared and Margot
but
breaking up.
see, this is my point to what I'm saying here. Now, had we watched David Ayer's Suicide Squad, maybe I can agree with what you guys are saying, right? Because in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, we know we would have seen a more toxic relationship between Joker and Harley. But with what we got, you don't get that. In
Yeah.
the end, you get this idea that they really are in love.
I
He's
mean,
breaking her out of
narratively, it's
prison.
not perfect. Narratively, it's not perfect, but in the
No,
sense
yeah, but
of
they didn't.
having the characters.
Yeah, it's not. You didn't get this. For instance, when I watched the Suicide Squad, or not the first one.
Trailer Park Squad.
Yeah, there you go. When I watched it, the Harley Quinn and Joker relationship did not really feel to me like what was in the cartoons or in the comics.
Yeah.
It felt like they really wanted to make it seem like these two are just toxically in love, but like really in love, rather than this, what we know really is between Joker and Harley, and that's, for Joker, Harley's really like, you're useful when you're useful, but when you're not, I don't want you here. You know what I mean? While Harley Quinn, yes, is infatuated by this guy who, can care less about her really, right? Until he like really needs her, right? So that's the truth about that relationship. But it's like when you saw the Suicide Squad movie in theaters or even the extended cut, you don't get that vibe. That's not what you get. You get like this. Oh, they're just. It's an interpretation of a toxic relationship to a certain degree, where Joker didn't want her at first, but now he's like really super in love with her to the point where he's trying to figure out where she's at and rescue her. Which, again, it's not really true to what we know how the relationship works in the comics, right? But my whole point is in the original Trailer Park Suicide Squad, they're in love. That's how it ends. They're in love. He loves her. She loves him. He breaks her out of prison. You don't see anything wrong with the relationship. This guy kills Common in the club for her. You know what I mean? Like, he does these things where
Well,
it shows a deep connection. So what I'm trying to get at is when you get to Birds of Prey, it's kind of hard to believe that there was a problem between the two, when it seems like they kind of hashed out their problems in Suicide Squad. You know what I mean?
Point, because if you had Jared Leto on board or on standby, you could just call him in, and you would have added a scene in the movie in Birds of Prey at the very beginning where something big happened, kind
Oh,
of
so
like
like add a scene between the two that shows why.
exactly.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, okay,
For
yeah.
example, yeah,
Sorry, go
please,
ahead.
no, please.
okay.
No, I was going to say that I feel like both Karim and I understand what you are saying, Vega, but
Yeah,
our argument is that since they are going to have them break up, they should as well have the scene where they do break up.
where they do break up, right? Or
Since
to
they're
what? Yeah,
going to do it.
yeah. Okay, now that makes sense to me. Okay,
Yeah,
I
so
thought you were trying to say like, well, as long as we saw him with what we had, with what they gave us, it would have been fine. That's the part
exactly,
I was trying to like. I was like, no, because even then it just doesn't add up. But you're saying add in a scene that
exactly,
shows what
exactly.
happened and then why they broke up. Okay, okay,
Yeah, with that in
yeah,
mind, for example, I'm gonna give two examples.
yeah,
First example is the Harley Quinn show. There was this scene, all right, where Riddler sets a trap for Harley Quinn and the Batman. He puts them on a like he gets them stuck in a trap.
yeah.
So he makes Joker choose: do you want to save Harley or do you want to save Batman? Joker says, "I'm gonna save Batman because I don't want Riddler to tell me that he killed Batman. I want to kill Batman." So the look
Right,
on his face, the betrayal. This
right,
is one little scene.
yeah,
Imagine you had Ben Affleck and Joker on board, and you did just that. You not only have connective tissue, but you've got Ben Affleck in your movie, you've got Jared Leto in your movie, and you have a very strong foundation for the movie for why Hardy broke up and why she's lashing out, and she wants to be free. You've got everyone on board now. And my second example is the ICU Kryptonite Bullet Superman thing in the Suicide Squad. Now imagine you had Henry Cavill on standby. Imagine the Suicide Squad, the movie, began with Bloodsport per se robbing a bank or doing some dirty business in Metropolis, and then Superman goes down. And we know how James Gunn likes to make fun of tropes. Like
mhm.
Henry Cavill be like, "I'm gonna stop you right now," and then he's like, "No, you're not," in his British accent. And then he's gonna shoot him with Kryptonite Bullet, and it's gonna get right through them. And then you've got the title rolling, and then you've got all those crazy James Gunn stuff. People would be like, "Oh shit, this is connected. This is
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
Superman is actually in the ICU. We can get on board with this movie. It's actually connected. It's its own thing in terms of tone, but still, there's Henry Cavill. There's the Bullet. You can actually see what Bloodsport is capable of."
So, do you think that the reason they can't execute these things it's probably contractual, maybe, right? Like it's probably
It is.
just they don't have it in the contracts where that's the case.
The
Maybe, or
problem
maybe they don't have the money for it. Like, they don't got that Disney bag. You know what I mean? Where
we have even more than the Disney bag. It's just that they alienated Cavill ever since Joss Whedon's cut, because from what I've heard, Henry Cavill wanted more money, and Warner Brothers told him, "You didn't make us enough money to merit more money." right?
Mm,
So they alienated Cavill, and when you alienate Cavill, you're not just alienating Henry, you're alienating by extension Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne,
right,
Jesse Eisenberg, and in terms of Ben Affleck, where's Jeremy Irons? You don't have an Alfred
right,
anymore, right?
right.
So you're alienating all those people ever since Justice League. They've never once reached out to Jared Leto for a future project. They're all wanting to come back, and the proof is Ben Affleck came back for the flush.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Jared Leto is always saying, "Please, I want to come back," but of course, there's gonna be a certain condition regarding it. They don't have to butcher my movie, and yeah, I mean, if Margot Robbie, an A-list actress, Idris Elba, another A-list actor, are still willing to play ball with Warner, and Ben Affleck is still willing, despite everything, to come back, all they need to do is pick up this phone of theirs, call Danny Garcia, the agent of Henry Cavill, who's also the agent of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, this
Right.
Black Adam. Get something done because you've got so much potential. You've got the same agent for Black Adam and Henry Cavill. They could easily do a Black Adam, Shazam, and Superman feature film and do it justice, But they are settling for less every single time. It's not
Right.
that they can't bring them back, it's that they won't bring them back because bringing back Cavill means acknowledging the Snyderverse. Bringing back Ben Affleck means acknowledging what happened to him in Justice League or just Jack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay. Yeah. Because I feel like the reason I brought up the question about the bag is because it don't, for sure, for sure. Well, we know for sure Disney's got a bag. You know what I'm saying? They got a bag. So that's why, that was the best thing that could have happened for Marvel is that they got bought out by Disney, who's got the money to like really push, fund whatever projects they had coming up, right? So that was like Disney saved Marvel really, like as far as like just as a company is concerned. And they put them back on the forefront of now everybody knows, oh yeah, the Avengers, Iron Man, whatever. Anyways, but the reason I say that, the reason why I wonder if it's the money, because apart from the fact that like they're not doing what you're saying, where they're bringing like, hey, do you mind doing this little scene with us, whatever, to have some sort of connective tissue. Apart from that, you see that they then went into this new plan of low budget films to bring in a more profit, right? And we saw that with Shazam and Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, even Wonder Woman 84, you know what I mean, which is just nuts to me. But and so you wonder, like, are they doing these low budget films because they're really not making, or maybe who knows, like, did they lose profit somewhere, or are they just being stingy there, or they're being afraid of putting in good money behind the film, and like so that it so that it could succeed, or I wonder if it's that, or is it that just the money's not there like we think it is.
the money's there. It's just that if you bring Cavill for a cameo, people are gonna ask when is the next Superman movie. If you
Mhm.
bring Jared Leto's Joker back, they're gonna ask when is Jared Leto's Joker gonna pop up
Right,
again.
right.
Same thing for Affleck. What is he doing in this universe? So there's a very big risk because these are A-list
A-list
actors.
actors,
You
yeah.
can't just call him whenever you want. You can't toy with his feelings and waste
Right.
his time. Be
If you
like, hey
right.
man,
I get
we
what you're
need you
saying.
for this movie, but I thought I wasn't Batman for you anymore. Well, yeah, we just need you for here. Same
Right,
thing.
right. I get it. Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
settling for headless cameos because they know if they call Cavill,
Yeah.
if they call Henry Cavill, there's some baggage that here. It's like,
Yeah.
didn't you tell me you don't need me anymore? Where's my Superman movie? There's gonna have to be a negotiation again. Like,
Right.
I want my Superman movie, I'll play it. I'll star in Shazam.
Well, supposedly there are negotiations happening, from what I'm
Ah, no,
hearing.
I don't believe that. It's been a while, and then there's your friend J.J. Abrams who's doing.
Well, even that I'm hearing is not really even solid. Like, they're not even from what I'm hearing from, and not from me. Like, I don't have sources. Like, one of the, like I said, if you guys haven't subscribed and watched this guy's channel, Asil Abdul, um, I would highly recommend it. It feels that this Mikey Sutton guy is, well, one, he's been in the industry for a while now.
Yeah,
As far as like he knows people within these studio houses. And one of his major, I guess you could say, selling points is that he was never really a Zack Snyder fan at first, but I guess the Zack Snyder's Justice League kind of won him over, But all that to say that he really has no business sharing these news about DC, because he was more of a Marvel source. Like he had, get sources there, and he's got some pretty. I'll tell you this now: this guy's batting 10 for 10. Like some of the things that he said we're gonna like. This is what he's hearing. Eventually came true, and I'm talking about. He said this like, months before. You know what I'm saying? Months before we, it was a confirmed. He'll say like, this is what I'm hearing. This, like he before anybody knew about the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield appearing, he was mentioning that way before, even with the Ben Affleck thing coming back to the fleet, he was hearing about that way before it was even confirmed. So this guy's pretty solid when he's, saying what he's hearing. So it kind of it gives you this notion like, man, this guy might be onto something. But all that to say that he's saying that the sources that he has at Warner Brothers, they're not content with the J.J. Abrams storyline of Superman. The only ones that are really want these things to go forward are Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich, for whatever. But what
The
he
usual
is saying,
suspects.
the usual suspects, exactly. But what he's saying is that since every movie that's come out is not really hitting, it's not hitting. None of the movies are hitting.
And Peacemaker show for a movie that flopped. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So all this is, so what we're seeing is what he's saying is what we're seeing is when we see things like that, is what it is just that Walter Hamada, Toby Emmerich, they're green lighting these projects because they see the writing on the wall. And what he's saying is their jobs for sure are on the line right now, especially once Zaslav comes in with Discovery, because none of it is showing any kind of form of success. So the best thing they could do if they were smart, but ego and pride for sure, comes before the fall. The best thing they could have done was actually just, submit to submit to the fans, give us the Snyderverse, whatever, blase blase.
The anti-life, yeah.
Yeah, the just exactly submit to the anti-life equation, man.
It's kind of reminiscent of the time, if you remember, kind of 2015 maybe, when Sony was having trouble with the Spider-Man brand, and they were greenlighting these crazy projects like an Aunt May spin-off, a Black Cat spin-off, I forgot, Sinister Six spin-off, like weird movies, Scarlet whatever his name was, spin-offs.
Yeah.
Then just so suddenly what happened was Disney acquired the Spider-Man rights to appear in Civil War, and that kind of deflated any hopes of seeing all those weird spin-offs from Avi Arad and Amy Pascal. So same thing I feel is happening with Walter and Toby, where they're greenlighting all these projects. It's like, yeah, look at us, we're preaching the multiverse, we greenlit Blue Beetle, Batgirl, whatever. And then I hope so, I really hope so, enter David Zaslav, and he's like, you could not live with your own failure, and where's that back to?
But again, that's why I'm afraid to what we were talking about in the beginning, that if that's the way Toby and Walter feel, they might be saying like, our last attack or last act before leaving the company is destroying the Snyderverse for good, and they are doing it with the Flash at the same time they are leaving. So with the Flash,
you can't. It's a multiverse. Remember, they set their own trap in the Death Star. They rigged their own trap because nobody cares when Zack picks up the phone and tells Ben Affleck, Ezra Miller, that Ben Affleck is the guy who shot us added scene for Batman, and the people were saying Ben doesn't want to return, and he shot a scene in Zack's backyard, an A-list actor, not an unknown actor, with Jared Leto, another Oscar-winning actor.
Yep.
For an open-ended scene, it's not like this scene will show us Batman dying in the future and we can rest easy. No, it's Ben Affleck looking at Martian Manhunter discussing Darkseid. So if Zack Snyder picks up the phone and tells him, hey, listen, Flashpoint, it's just their universe. It's like a comedy joke fest universe. Let's just do GL2, GL3. People will want to tune in and watch that, regardless of the headcanon. We all know that GL2 is going to pick up of Zack Snyder Justice League, which picks up from BVS, which picks up from Man of Steel. So at the end of the line, when you've got the box set, you've got MOS, BVS, ZSGL, GL2, GL3, and that's it,
Yes.
So
yes. I think you're right. They could They could try, but Kareem said it best. They set their own trap within the Death Star. Their own failsafe, and so there's always falling back on that. But again, like I said, this guy is saying that this movie, the Flash, whatever you want to call it, that it's gonna connect a bit more than what we think. To Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I mean, I might be being a bit pessimistic here. I'm just
Yeah,
a bit afraid of it, but
reasonable,
hopefully I'm wrong.
reasonable, 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 because it's and this is something I think this is even a part of a discussion that we had on this guy's channel, where you know could it work, right? Could David Zaslav come and say everything goes back to this? I want the core characters to be the foundation of what we set forward. And could everything that already has been greenlit, what's come out, could it all come back into connecting? And I personally believe, yes, you can do that. Whether it's the multiverse or whether it's finding the connective tissues, right? I feel that between Sandberg, Juan, and we'll see what Andy does. Not so much Patty Jenkins. She lost me with 84, but
Me too.
but at least between those three, or at least between the two, let's just stick to Sandberg and Juan. When you watch Aquaman and when you watch even Shazam, there are things that allow it to connect loosely, but they still connect. Sure, you can point out the details of like what is different, right? Between especially Aquaman. There's right now that's been the argument, right? That the conflict is, does Aquaman really connect to Zack Snyder's Justice League or not? And in ways it does, and in ways it doesn't. I get it. The air bubble thing for sure. We don't get that in
A New Hope. There's a bit of contradiction here and there, but it does connect.
But it does connect, right? So that's why I'm like, you can still connect it. It's because I feel like it's more details in. It's more of the details that are loosely different, but I feel the storyline still connects. Even though some people are saying the whole like, well, what about Mara's parents? She mentions in Zack Snyder's Justice League that they died in the wars, and that her mother or Aquaman's mother took her in. But when you get to Aquaman, she has a father.
But that's right, because Zack already had the script for James Wan's Aquaman, and he knew what James Wan was about to develop. So why include that in the movie, regardless of whether? And I mean that before he got fired from Justice League. Why would he say that in the movie, and why would James Wan approve if he knows that James Wan in his movie is going to explore Mira's parents, or at least father?
Well, so this was my theory. I don't know if it's correct, and if it's not, they should consider going this route. But if in fact Mira was adopted, maybe, right? If both of her parents died, could this be an adoptive father? Not an exact her actual father, but what if this father we see in Aquaman is her adopted father, right? Especially because Mira also went away, right? So and we know this much is that Mira goes away while Aquaman or Arthur is still a boy, right? He's still a kid. He's not really a grown man. So you have to assume Mira was also a kid when they took Atlanta away, and they whatever thought they killed her, but turns out she's alive. But my whole point is she was still a child, so there would have to have been another parent figure to adopt her, is what I'm saying. Especially once Queen Atlanta was sent off. You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe the father we see in Aquaman is actually an adoptive father rather than her actual father.
Yeah.
That red hair is highly suspicious, though.
You're right. Right. I mean, maybe he forced her. You know what I'm saying? For people to believe you're actually my daughter. I don't know, man. Who knows, bro? But if I were to use any reason, that's what I'd say. The air bubble thing, I would, or like how they talk underwater, I would just say, for the sake of the movie, so that it flowed better, they just use actual dialogue. But it could have very much been that the whole time, even though we're understanding what they're saying completely in Aquaman, really and truly, they are conversating the way that we saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, but still, they removed the accent of the Atlanteans. It was British
Mm.
and Zack.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yep, yeah.
This is
That's
a basic thing that I don't understand. Why would you change that? Like, why is it bothering you? And I'm talking to Warner here. What's so wrong about them conversing in a British accent? You know?
that is the question, right? Like, what do they feel needed to change there with the British accent? You know, like why? You
Maybe
know,
they felt that the Amazonians already had accents, so they didn't want the Atlanteans to also have one.
right, right.
I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I can't understand the logic. The one that I did give them that I'll probably say like, okay, it will be the how they conversate, right? The whole air bubble thing. Like, whoa, what are they gonna do? Have air bubbles every time they talk? You know, so I can get that. But even then, I think that's a non-factor because, like I said, you know, you could always just argue that for the sake of the movie, you know, I don't know if you ever saw the show Warrior on HBO. It's really
Oh,
genius. You seen it or no?
no, no, no. I know which one you're talking about. I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to.
I highly recommend it. What they do in that show is pretty genius, and that's that. You know, it's about these. It's the immigration of the Chinese people into the west of the United States, and so what they do is though when it's like you know Chinese people having conversations, they first like they kind of do the whole like 360 going around thing, kind of like Zach does, and so you'll first hear the conversation in Mandarin,
Yeah, yeah.
and then when they swoop around the back and then come around, all of a sudden they're talking English, and you
They,
understand
they did the
completely what
same
they're
on
saying.
Lost too, every once in a
Oh yeah,
while.
you're right. Yes, yes.
And
So
they did that with Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. He was speaking in German as he wrote the letter, and then it switched to be Americanized
yeah.
Hollywood.
So you know, you could very much say the same thing happened here. So you know that, but yeah, like I said, there's minor details for sure that kind of set it apart. But I think overall the story still connects. You know, I feel like with Shazam two, Shazam not two, but Shazam, same thing. Like it's its own story, but like there's still the factor, the details that do connect. You know, with the Batarang, the
Yeah.
Superman bullet, the Aquaman T-shirt. Clearly, the way I would explain it would be the heroes that we see in the Justice League in the timeline of Shazam are already set,
Stab. Yeah.
established. Exactly, they're already established heroes, well known among the people. Hence, why the conversation between Billy and um, what's the other kid? The kid with the you know the whatever guy who the kid who has a Superman bullet. You know, the conversation is what would your superpower be? This is a discussion they're clearly having because these heroes do exist in their universe. So they still connect. Um, and
I really,
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I just think that Pony Smasher. I mean, Sandberg, James Wan, even Andy Muschietti. I think they would have all liked to be connected to the Snyderverse. And when I say that, I mean like the clues are all there. Like James Wan showcased Aquaman for Zack Snyder behind Warner Brothers is back. David
Right,
Sandberg is a horror director by nature. He's not a comedy director. He's did Annabelle creation, and
right.
he has all these hints and nods to BVS with the two toys clashing together. The Batarang from Ben Affleck, and definitely as you said or Marcelo said, they're kind of yes man because they want to work, they want to have their touch, they want to add to the superhero genre on their CVs. So it's really a matter of what Warner Brothers tells them to do. They'd probably be like, oh, you can go as creative as you want with the characters, but you cannot go overboard and connect it to other movies because we still haven't figured out how we're going to connect it and to which universe we are connecting it to.
Right,
So
right.
you can leave breadcrumbs, but we can't be so blunt about what type of breadcrumbs we're leaving. Like you can
Yeah,
hint Superman, you can hint there's a Batman, but you can't really tell us, oh yeah, this Batman is actually from BVS, let's say, or hint at the events that happen.
right.
So that's why I kind of support their movies because at the end of the day, if you, me, or Marcelo were asked to do a DC movie, we're definitely gonna say yes or maybe not. I don't know about you, but because we wanna add input to the world, you know. So it's not their fault they wanna do DC movies. It's not their fault Warner Brothers are Warner Brothers. You know, they just want to do these movies. And I even think Zach would want their movies to succeed because they're not inherently bad people. We know who's the bad person or the bad lot.
Right.
And yeah, so when
Yeah.
James Wan does a movie, I'm definitely gonna support James Wan, even though it goes back to the studio. It's because Jason Momoa supported Zack Snyder, and he's been so vocal despite him being like probably bullied by Warner about it. He showed his support. So why the hell am I not gonna go to theaters and support the man who said publicly more than once that the Snyder Cut exists, that I've watched it, that Zack's a
Yep.
good guy, you know?
Yep. No, yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, I don't. I think it'd be wiser to not categorize Juan or Sandberg as the bad guys, rather than just like you said, they were wise enough to leave breadcrumbs that
Yeah.
if so one day, as Marcelo said, things go back to normal to what it's supposed to be, it still connects. But at the same time, in the moments that they're making these movies, the future was so uncertain, especially when they got the people at the top telling them it's not going to be that no more. But the fact that they still kind of have it connecting in one way, shape, or form kind of gives you the sense that they were still trying to be respectful of what came beforehand, and possibly, in my perspective, if maybe if things actually ever do course correct, it actually does connect. It's still it can connect. It can connect. You
to
know.
add to add to what you're saying, there's a lot of people that say, and shout out to Damien Anton Vincent, by the
Yep.
way.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good day, my brother.
yeah.
And the
So
problem is definitely Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, and Walter Hamada for sure.
yeah. So basically, Justice League. I think I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, by the way, and get inside the heads of Walter, Jeff, and Toby Emmerich. Why Joss Whedon's cut of Justice League is canon and not Zack Snyder's Justice League? And I've been thinking about that for a long while. The reason for that is Joss Whedon's Justice League is a very basic movie. It's a very simple movie in the sense that there's no deeper mythologies going on. There's no deconstructions. There is no spin-offs that could potentially happen. And just like you said, Vega, it establishes the heroes in this universe. And after that, you don't need to revisit those heroes. They're there, and now you can branch out to other characters. And you don't need to do like a New Gods movie or like address Darkseid. You just name pop them here, like, oh yeah, there's Darkseid, but we don't know exactly when Darkseid's coming, as opposed to Ready the Armada. It's not a
Right.
good thing what they're doing, but
Right.
what they're doing is that by deeming Joss Whedon's cut canon, they don't have to bring Darkseid into the equation anytime soon, right? They
Right.
don't have to bring Martian Manhunter. They don't have to do a Cyborg movie because Cyborg's basically like a thin layered character in Joss Whedon's cut, right?
Right.
And as you said, these heroes have now come into the open at the end of Joss Whedon's cut. Like Wonder Woman's interrogating these folks, Superman is smiling and all that. He's now like an icon floating around that doesn't have to go back down to earth. So there's not a lot of responsibility after Joss Whedon's cut, but there's a lot of responsibility after Snyderverse because these
For sure.
characters have actual arcs. There's
Yes.
an actual war inbound. There's Desaad, there's Planet
Yes.
Darkness, there's Apocalypse. There's all these things that you need to acknowledge. And for the time being, what they're trying to do or aiming to go to is a place where you've got all these heroes. And at the back of your head, oh yeah, there's Superman, there's Batman, but they're not here right now. You know, they're doing their own thing. God knows what that is. And for the Flashpoint, the failsafe is that as much as they wanted to distance themselves from Snyderverse, they acknowledged that to some extent we have to bring closure to that universe, whether it's the way we want or the way they want. And that is where Ben Affleck comes in.
Hmm.
Because I had a chat with folk on Twitter about it. They're like, I'm surprised Ben Affleck came back to it given what they did to Zack, right?
Yeah.
So this is a small clue as to maybe whether they're gonna restore or not. Which brings me to clue number one: is it's a double-edged sword. It's how you see it. Ben Affleck is coming out to close out his arc, because I remember back in 2017 when he was doing the press for Joss Whedon's cut, he said I had one more appearance as Batman, whether it's a cameo or a movie, and I had to honor it. So he's kind of returning to the role because probably Andy's a fan of Zack, and he wants Ben Affleck to be the essential Batman to this
Right.
universe, and it's the launching point to the new Batman. Like he has to be there to close out his arc, to close out the Snyderverse. Because for Flashpoint to work, for a new timeline to emerge, the old timeline has to appear at some point. It has to be acknowledged that hey, this is Ben Affleck, and he's gonna be erased. Same thing for Henry Cavill, who I think Supergirl's gonna come and replace him. And they're acknowledging Wonder Woman. I think I saw a leaked photo where there's a truck coming and there's Wonder Woman picture there. So
Yep.
she's kind of in this universe. You don't have to bring her in. She's there. And Daniel RPK, the scooper, if you know him, Daniel Richman, he said they need Aquaman for this to work. He said that. And I think they know that. And I think they're bringing in Aquaman so they can show him as the new face of DC, because they're alienating Superman for now because they don't know what they want to do with him. So it's Aquaman and Wonder Woman who are like interim standing for Batman and Superman for now. So they are the face of DC right now. And let's be honest with that, they are. Whether we like it or not, it's not Henry, it's not Ben. Even though Ben and Henry have much bigger caliber and range than him, Aquaman is the one that got them the billion, so they need
Right.
Aquaman more than Henry in the Flash for them to launch into a new universe. So yeah,
Right. No, you know, you something that as you were saying, that came to my mind, was that what this guy said was that it actually, whether it's true or not, I don't know. You know, this is
yeah.
what his sources are telling him. So, but what he said was that the Flash is supposed to pick up where Zack Snyder's Justice League leaves off.
All right.
The only thing that we have confirmed is that Iris is in the movie, so that's
Yeah.
the closest confirmation to it being part of Zack Snyder's Justice League. If
Right.
the Martian Manhunter rumor is true, then that would be the second piece to establishing it within the Zack Snyder Justice League
Exactly.
universe.
So whether it's true or not, you know, who knows? The one question that I keep asking whenever these guys go live, that I'm not, you know, they still haven't confirmed yet, and that's what I keep asking, is that Supergirl, is this another world, another timeline Supergirl, or
Yeah,
is this the pod in Man of Steel that's open?
no, it's not. It's not the pod.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of two of which I'm gonna tell you. It's either because that's a leak I saw. I don't know if it's true. She's the daughter of Christopher Reeve's Superman. That's a.
Mm,
The second one is she's gonna be kind of like how in Flashpoint Paradox, the comic, Superman is taken by the White House or the Pentagon or Area 51. I forgot.
yeah. Yeah.
She's gonna be that person, you know,
Oh,
instead of
like the alternate version of that timeline.
yeah. But
Okay.
instead of having Superman do that, since again contractual problems with Henry Cavill, they're
Right.
bringing in Supergirl. It's their opportunity to do that, and then she's gonna come into the main timeline, which is the DCU, and replace Cavill's, or maybe not. Maybe she's not gonna replace him. But then
Yeah.
again, it all hinges down, Vega and Marcelo, on one aspect for me. It's Ben Affleck. Is he gonna be erased, or is he gonna stay? If he stays, all our main players are still there. If he's erased, it's game over for all of us, and that's how I see it.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree. It all, and again, it leads to just what you said earlier, and that's that the future of DC truly does hang on how this movie turns out, what's in it, what are we, you know, what are we getting, how is it going to end. It really does hang on it, and that's why I'm really hoping they don't drop the ball. I can care less what they do with the Batman. That's its own thing. I look at that as a, clearly it's clearly its own thing. Matt Reeves stated that, like, he doesn't want to, he wants to have his own little thing going on, and it's fine with me. I'm cool with that. Even with Black Adam. I know it's gonna be a good film. It's The Rock.
Exactly.
What does he do that's bad? Like I can't really say I have a movie that The Rock's done that I don't like, but even though I haven't seen Jungle Cruise, I have yet to see really what he did there. But
I saw it. Yeah, it's nice.
yeah, okay. Um, so yeah, but really and truly, what I'm focused on that I really hope doesn't drop the ball is definitely the Flash. This is the telling sign for sure. I think if anybody's concerned about what's going to happen, it's that because even you know even if as my boy Louis Santano said, even with the release of the Air cut, it's a non-factor to the restoring of the Snyderverse in the
Louis
sense that
Santana.
uh
No,
oh, well, hold on. I'll let you get to it. I'll let you get to it. It's a non-factor because the Suicide Squad or David Ayer's Suicide Squad comes before Zack Snyder's Justice League. So if it gets released, it's not a telling sign to, oh yeah, they're gonna restore the Snyderverse. If it gets released, it's just because they released it. They want to have some sort of fan service saying that they did it, and that's what it's about, and you know, and I'm excited for that too. Though don't get me wrong, like I do want to see David Ayer's Suicide Squad for what it is. So I'm definitely all day, every day.
yeah,
Hashtag release the Air cut,
They could
no
end up
doubt.
doing what I was saying earlier, that now with there is the Ayer cut released, now they say that that's the ending. That they have those two movies, those two cuts released, and they have Hamada or someone else announcing that with those two movies being out, that's the end of it, and we
Yeah.
move forward. And I don't know if I may, Karim. I wanted to say something about the. So, taking into account the latest topics that we were touching on,
Hmm.
um, I feel that the breadcrumbs that you guys were talking about between Shazam and Aquaman, I'd say that Geoff Jones was so confident on Whedon's cut of Justice League that he felt he could prove himself with the success of the Whedon cut, which it didn't end up being a success,
Right.
and have Aquaman and Shazam as just two tests before maybe doing or announcing a second Justice League that would have not connected with any of the plans that we know Zack had.
Mm.
But the thing is, I'd say that while that might have been his plan at first, and now that he might not have such a big voice within the DC Films section of Warner Bros., like I said, I'd like to believe that there are some people within the company that are after the financial failures, are not sure how to proceed. And the Flash film is a wild card until we were able to watch it and see what they do with all of the universes combined or separated, whichever way they go
Right.
forward. We can't be sure about it. But looking backwards, I'd say that was the plan. For Geoff
Hmm.
Jones, when we were Karim and I were talking about the Jared Leto inclusion on Birds of Prey, like
Yeah.
Studio Squad and Justice League, both left the door open for all of the characters to reappear, but they
Yeah.
never went ahead with that.
exactly.
With the Whedon cut, any of the league members could have appeared on their own standalone films or on a group film without being connected to anything with Apocalypse, because they erased all of that. It's
Yeah.
only Zack Snyder's Justice League that bounds them to the incoming war, but
Yeah,
the Whedon cut gave them the free slate that Warner Bros. So much wanted, but they never
exactly.
did anything with it.
Exactly.
No, yeah, yeah. You're absolutely right. I definitely if they would have, and
I
this is
mean,
probably what,
they
yeah,
teased. Sorry, that's the only word I'm gonna say. They teased Legion of Doom, so Marcelo's kind of
yeah,
right. That
yeah,
they had the plan to continue Justice League in their own way.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. That's what you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was gonna say. Really, is that when you look at the ending, they were hinting on that, and I think you know, here's the problem with that, and I think why we didn't get it probably is because Jeff Johns, as you said, Marcelo, was probably so sure of himself. He didn't expect the blowback from the
Yeah.
Whedon cut. One, but two, what he didn't know, or maybe what he did know and just didn't care and thought he could probably make up a story on the whims if he had to. But what separates, you know, what we got in the Whedon cut to what we got in Zack Snyder's Justice League is that Zack's storyline in his head and even on paper is already written out. Like
Yeah.
the story, he already knows where it's going, and that's why he can put whatever he's putting in the movie because it's already coming. He already knows how it's coming, rather than saying, "Oh, we're gonna deter from that." And let's we should probably do Legion of Doom. Let's add a scene there. But the reality is you didn't even have a story ready with the Legion of Doom to say like, yeah, that's where we're going. But even then, what I will say is this is when you even look at the storyboards though, right? Of what was supposed to come, right? When we're talking about Justice League 2 and 3, you can even kind of make the argument really and truly that the Legion of Doom was coming in its own form, right? When you're looking at Lex Luthor putting together a team, you know, to foil up a plan, you can say that was the Legion of Doom when he's, you know, getting together with
That's
Deadshot and Deathstroke
Black
and
Black
Panther.
Manta,
yeah, Black Manta and Riddler and
Doctor Poison.
Doctor Poison. That
Yeah.
was, you know, in a sense the Legion of Doom. So it was like it was coming anyways. So like, was it really Jeff John's own idea? You know what I mean?
I
Uh,
think it was like he's uh, deviating in the sense like kind of like how Avengers did with Thanos in Avengers 2. He's like, fine, I'll do this myself, and
right,
then he just disappears for like 2 movies, and then he comes back. So
right,
basically, it's like I wouldn't say I would have been okay with the Legion of Doom given what Jeff Jones did to our movies, but back then, before we knew there was a Snyder cut, and you see the after credits, despite the movie being an atrocious movie, obviously, I'm like,
right.
okay, there's Legion of Doom. Maybe they'll fix the DCU with that, you know, like maybe this is what we need, a movie where all the villains are acknowledged before we take on the big bad, which is Darkseid, who has been referred like loosely in Joss Whedon's cut. I'm like, okay, he's bound to appear someday.
Yeah,
I'll have my Legion of Doom movie first. I don't
yeah,
mind, you know.
yeah,
So the disappointment is kind of like what you said, Vega, and what Marcelo said is that they didn't do anything with what they were given. Like
right.
they've been dealt the Joss Whedon cut, and after that they could have easily done a new Justice League movie, but they didn't go ahead with that. And I would have been okay if Flash movie came. Like this is something I used to tweet about it back in 2019 because I love Ben Affleck so much. I actually cried when he said I'm not Batman anymore. I actually got into a really big down back then because he
Yeah,
meant the world to me. But then when I saw rumors of Pattinson, and before there was even one rumor, I swear I used to say the only way I would forgive Warner Brothers is if they cast Robert Pattinson as Batman, and in the Flashpoint they just like Batman Ben Affleck disappears and Robert Pattinson comes in. So I would have been okay if Warner Brothers' plan was to flashpoint the hell out of Batman and bring in Pattinson, keep Cavill, keep Gal Gadot, Jason, Ezra, whatever, pile them in and start fresh from there. But they didn't do that.
yeah.
They isolated Pattinson, they alienated Henry Cavill, and they're just, you know, winging it actually.
So you know, and I think I agree with you on that too. Like I really feel like that's what it was. You know, if they could have just proved us wrong or proved themselves right, let's just say that if they could have proved themselves right, this probably would have been a different story. But they didn't, and but I feel that that is accredited to the fact that it's not just so much about what they did behind the scenes. Like for sure, that's like when you find that out, it's like, oh man, that's kind of messed up. But um it's more so to me personally, when you have a product that is as pure. Okay, let me. I don't know if you ever saw. You ever seen the movie American Gangster?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For
Okay,
Ridley Scott,
No.
Denzel Washington.
no, okay,
It's Russell and Denzel Washington, right?
yes, you got it.
Ridley
Yeah.
Scott died.
So in that movie, there's a product that Denzel's character is selling called Blue Magic, right, or
Yeah,
something like that.
heroin.
It's heroin. It's dope, right? And he sells it uncut and pure.
Yeah,
Eventually, there's a part in the movie where he's selling it off to other drug dealers, right? Other known drug dealers with their own territories.
and
But
it's
it
pure.
turns out that they're cutting down the product, and still trying to call it Blue Magic,
Yeah,
and that's and hence the issue that I'm trying to say here is that the problem for me when it comes to what I think happened or what followed suit, or not just followed suit. I think once we got to Justice League, it was just apparent. It was the most cut down version of what they were doing. And what I'm trying to get at is following BVS, they already started tampering with their
yeah,
product. We saw it in Suicide Squad a bit, right? You enjoy the movie, but you kind of know like this is different. This is different from what we've been getting, yeah. Like as far as like the Dark Knight trilogy, Man of Steel, BVS, and then you got Suicide Squad, and it's like it still has the similar, you
I
know.
didn't like the Suicide Squad, to be honest.
You
Not
didn't
because
okay.
it was like no, it was like a win for me. Why? Because you know because I knew Justice League was coming. It was gonna be dark, serious, gritty, and it was gonna be heavily influenced by Zack. So when I was watching Suicide Squad, I was having what I'd say a fun time, kind of like Venom. Like yeah, this commercial
Yeah,
music playing,
yeah,
this gangstery vibe. I'm like, okay, it's not supposed to be taken seriously like Superman and Batman. I'll take it, man. And
yeah.
I watched like a million times because it created like this like cult or pop culture. It became a pop culture thing. These
Mhm.
Harley Quinn clothes, the Halloween costumes, the trends, the gangster teeth. It was fun, you know. I'm like, okay, I don't need no air cut. Now I do because I know what he wanted to do, right? But
Mhm.
back then, like, I'll take it. I don't care
Yeah,
because there's Ben Affleck, because there's the tease for the Zack Snyder's Justice League, because there
right.
was all these nods to a bigger universe, you know. So
Right.
yeah,
So no, and I'll agree with that. I will say that that's kind of how I felt. Minus my disappointment in the Joker in that movie
yeah,
at first, um, and still to this moment, now that we know there's more, it's like it all makes sense, right? But
yeah,
that was probably my biggest disappointment. But other than that, I felt the same way. Like it's like all right, it's cool. It's cool if it's different. It's fine.
yeah,
It's a movie for that time. Whether it's timeless now, I don't think it is. It's not a timeless piece, but it definitely served well for the time that it came out with
yeah,
the music and the themes, like you said, the culture. But my whole point is you saw that movie and you knew it was different from the product that
yeah,
we were getting.
yeah,
Not so different, but you saw the differences, right? Then when you got to Wonder Woman, same thing. Like it's still similar product, but there's something different about it once you get to the end, right? And it's like, oh, okay, this is a bit different. But again, it's like maybe 80% is still pure with 20% that's not pure anymore. Like if they're cutting it up. And then once you get to Justice League, that product was stepped on, all these all these different chemicals. It just wasn't blue magic anymore. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the issue here. Like that was the main issue. And it's not that they can't do anything different, but the problem is don't call it blue magic when it's not blue magic.
exactly.
That's what I'm trying to get at here, right? So you have a product called DC, and and when it was starting off, with the Nolan trilogy, and it was so pure in what it had to offer, and you got that same purity following with Man of Steel and then BVS, but then you start tampering with that blue magic, still trying to tell us that it's blue magic. If you're gonna do something different that's not blue magic, don't call it blue magic. I don't care if you do separate. Like I said, it's one thing if you're doing standalone films that are DC, but like it's a standalone thing. It's not part of your DCEU, but it's just a DC film that's its own thing. It's not blue magic. It's
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, white magic. I don't care.
yeah.
But that would
Magic.
have been fine. But the problem is they were trying to sell us on this idea that it was still Blue Magic, it was still the DC films we fell in love with. It's still part of that connective universe when it really wasn't, and they were tampering with it all along, cutting it up, stealing away from what the purity of it all. And I'm not sure that it would have still eventually, I feel like it would have still kept going down,
Yeah.
if people would have just been acceptive of what they were doing. We weren't going to, it would have not been suffice, is what I'm saying. I don't think it really would have been suffice, because they were clearly selling us a product that was no longer the
Pure.
pure Blue Magic that it was from the beginning. um and I think that's the issue with it, that I don't think whether they would have done Legion of Doom or whatever they were thought they were going to do, I don't really think it would have ever been successful, because of that. Even if the idea is, like you said, like if they would have just had a spine and tried to prove themselves right, I think there was just no proving themselves right. I think they underestimated the grandeur of
Of what they
what they had, you know what I mean, and what they had to offer, what they gave us through Dark Knight trilogy, through Man of Steel, through BVS. They underestimated it. They didn't understand it, and hence why we got where we're at now. But I guess, yeah. Overall, the Flash is gonna tell us where we're going.
Yeah.
DC fandom coming up, guys. Are you guys excited about it or not? Is it
Uh, to be honest, if Marcelo wants to answer, I'd much rather he did because
Um, I'll just keep my eyes on comicbook.com, my eyes open looking at the news. If there's anything interesting, I might read the article, but I don't have any reason to be uh, watching all of the fandom.
gotcha?
Maybe, just maybe, I might watch the Matt Reeves panel.
Right.
And I have some curiosity about the unannounced panel that they have. But it's like Kareem, or I don't know if it was both of you guys mentioned at the beginning. On the first fandom, we were all in on all of the projects because we thought we were finally together on all of the fans were together on all of the DC projects.
Right.
But after the release of the Snyder Code, we know that they are trying to push us to the side and leave us behind. So uh, I'm a bit curious about some of the different movies that are coming out, but I'm not connected to them emotionally. So I'll keep my eyes and ears open, but I don't think I'll be watching fandom,
Like
the
last.
program
Yeah.
live.
Okay. How about you, Kareem?
I will be watching the program live. As
Yeah.
if you've seen Game of Thrones, Lord Varys. He says a quote that's "I serve the realm." That's what he says, and that's exactly this has always been my position.
Yeah.
I do it with a heavy heart. I have, or like the Watcher in Marvel's What If, like I watch from a distance.
Yeah.
If there is room for emotion, I'll open the door in my heart. But it's closed until it opens. But I'll be there to watch unbiasedly. I always like to keep my eye on the ball. That's the thing about me, especially in DC, because man, DC is my home. And if my home is in the dirt or the mud, I'm gonna stay in the dirt and the mud. I'm not gonna leave it to rot alone. I'm always gonna be there, not for Jeff Jones, not for Walter Amada, not for Toby Emmerich. I don't care about any of them, but because I always hope there's this always 1% hope that maybe
Mm,
things are gonna change. Maybe something's gonna miraculously pop up on screen. Maybe Henry
mm,
Cavill, maybe a Superman project. I don't know. I
okay.
just always have that 1% hope
Yeah.
because of yeah.
Just out of curiosity, just is there any, and I'm not saying that it has to go to that. I'm not,
Not
but,
definitely.
I'm just curious, just because I know that there's plenty of DC fans like yourself that are very just DC is DC, and no matter what they do wrong, I'll still be there. Do you think that's true? Like, even if they just keep going, like, is there any point that you say, enough
Enough
is
is
enough.
all right.
And
I'm gonna answer your question another way, and that applies to Marcelo as well. Do you watch football, basketball, anything?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so I watch soccer. That's what you call it, guys. Back in the states, we
Right.
call it football. All right.
Football.
I support this team called Arsenal Football Club. It's a Premier League driven team, and it has an awful board, a corrupt board that steals money off us and gives it to his American franchise in baseball or American football.
Hmm.
And this team has been going through hell for the past 10 years. We haven't won a trophy. We haven't finished in the top four in the league. We've become a meme, a gif, a troll on the internet and social media. Everybody laughs when we watch. When I go watching Arsenal, the team on TV, I know
Yeah.
we're gonna lose. I know we're gonna be butchered, destroyed, bullied by the opposition, but I still watch them. And
Mm.
I hate that I have to watch them. But I made a commitment when I became an Arsenal fan that I won't stop watching them when they lose. It's like that quote
Mm.
that says, "Take me as I am, or watch me as I go." Like for now, this is what you've been given, and it's a test of your patience because God or the universe is gonna open up a nicer door in the future. So
Mm.
for me to turn my back on my team, it's the equivalent of me turning my back on DC or vice versa. I know
Right.
the board is corrupt and my
Right.
football is corrupt from
Right.
top to bottom, from the management to the players to the salaries to the fan base itself. It's also toxic with each other. There's also a civil war, kind of like how we have the same with other DC fans, gun
Yeah.
stands, etc. Same thing. I have the same problem with football fans, but then again, it's just a conviction I have that I'll fall on that sinking ship. I'll
Okay.
die on that sinking ship. I will scream restore the Snyderverse while I'm sinking. But I,
Restore the.
I made a commitment not to Warner. Actually, I did to Warner because no matter how many times I say it, whether it's live or YouTube or to my friends, Warner Brothers, and I know it's not the same management, but it gave me Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It gave me, and without Harry Potter, I might not be alive right now because it saved me from a lot of depression. So many problems in my life have been solved by the mere face, by a mere marathon of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I know that era is dead and gone, but also Christopher Reeves as Superman, he played a very big part in my values. And Tom Walling's Smallville, even though it's not WB Pictures, it's CW,
Yeah.
it's it's always been and always will be the blueprint for me. Tom Welling, Smallville, Michael Rosenbaum, Zack Luthor. It will always shake my heart even more so than BBS and Man of Steel did, because for me they're just so heartwarming, so beautiful, so beautifully done from the heart. Even though there's so many cheesy moments, cheap production, and all that,
Yeah.
when you see Tom Welling at the end just flying around and pulling that shirt off, I'm like, oh my god, that's how I feel. And
Mhm.
that image of him flying off is me flying off into the world saying, thank you, Smallville, for making me a DC fan.
Mm.
And thank you, DC Universe Online, the video game that I
Yeah.
played for 5 years,
Wow.
and
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
hardcore addict. I've
Yes.
spent thousands of dollars on this game.
Yeah.
I used to tear up just playing it because I've always wanted to be part of the DC Universe, like literally inside.
Yeah. 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 I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Just get me inside. So even if there's 1% of that blue meth you're talking about, that powder,
Yep.
it's broken down. I know it's broken down, but there's still that 1%, and that's what I hang on to. I'm like, okay, but there's still this breadcrumb. I'm gonna stick with it, please.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing else you want to say, I want to go on a vent. I want to tell you guys about, like, I'm not gonna take long, I promise, and I'm gonna end it with a question.
Uh-huh.
But I have this best friend, and he's as I wish he can come on the podcast, but he doesn't like that stuff.
Mm.
He's so in love with DC, but he's not into it the way we are, in the sense that we know what's going on behind the scenes. He
Yeah.
tells me something. He tells me every week is like a reminder: is the Snyderverse restored? He's asking me because I'm the one who's involved. I'm like, no, not yet. He's like, I'm tired. He's like, Karim, please, you have to understand something. The general audience don't have time, or they don't have the luxury or the time we have to think about Toby Emmerich, Walter Hamada, and Sarnoff, Jeff Jones. We just want to be free. We just want to go into a movie the way we go into a Marvel movie and be like, yeah, what's next? What's the
Mhm.
after credits like? When is the anti-monitor coming? When is Reverse Flash coming? Oh, that's a cookie crumb for the next movie. We don't want to live in this constant loop of, yeah, let's restore, let's not restore. We like gun, we don't like gun. We're owed a universe, a shared universe, whether it's Zack, whether it's DC. And that's where the I serve the realm comes in,
Mhm.
because he tells me, Karim, with all respect, if there's a like this official statement that comes out that says, breaking news, Warner Brother erases the entirety of DC. No more Jason Momoa, no more Gal Gadot, no more Henry Cavill, and we're starting from zero and we're doing a DCU. I'm all in, because that's what we need, a clean slate. That's how much he loves DC. He's like, I'm willing to throw away all this baggage, all the Snyderverse, all the Ezra, Gal, Ben drama. And I just want to be able to go to a movie knowing there's nothing happening behind the scenes, to see the trailer, to know that after this trailer comes the next trailer, the next movie, the movie beyond that movie. And
Mhm.
I know this was what was going to happen with Zack back then, but then again, it didn't,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
now we're grasping on straws or hanging by a thread. We're like, please restore the Snyderverse. But he told me something that really shook me a lot and made me think. He told me, let's go back to Man of Steel and BVS. Man of Steel was somewhat of a success. BVS was critically panned, and the general audience didn't like it, right? But then again, our side of things is, we go on Twitter, we say, yeah, because they didn't release the 3 hour cut of the movie, right? But then again, back then, a movie that big, Batman versus Superman, you don't go and put out a 3 hour movie so early on in your universe. You build towards that, because Endgame, after everybody was looking, it's at the back end of Infinity War. Everybody's like, if Endgame is 6 hours, I'm gonna have to watch that. I don't care. It's Endgame. But
Mhm.
then, because the general audience, not me, not you, not Marcelo, uh, the general audience are not like us. They're not so heavily invested in DC. They need to become invested because of the movies. So after BVS, and given the critical panning and the unsuccessful commercial value of the movie, people would not have wanted to watch. That's what he's telling me.
Mhm.
We would not have wanted to watch a 4 hour rendition of Zack Snyder Justice League, because the people weren't aware of what they are now in regards to what Zack was trying to do, what his vision was. So if you bring me back to 2017, before Zack was fired, and we were going in to see a 2.5 to 2.6 hour Zack Snyder Justice League movie, that might have came out wrong, and we would have been back to square one, in the sense that we would have went to Twitter, but instead of saying release the Snyder Cut, we would have said, oh yeah, but you should have seen the DVD edition of Zack Snyder Justice League that's 4 hours long, and it explains all the plot holes. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, like I wonder what would have happened if Zack stayed and he had to release a 2.5 hour cut of that huge movie that has so many plots going on that it needs a 4 hour runtime. Like, how would you have compressed it into 2.5 hours, given, I repeat, given that people hated, not us, I'm saying the general overview, hated what you did with BVS? Would they be behind another plot hole filled, cut down 2.5 hour version of Zack Snyder Justice League, and then they also had to wait for another Ultimate Edition to come out so it can validate the existence of Justice League? So with that in mind, that's my endpoint.
Uh-huh.
That people back then, the general audience, is as much an important factor as us. If Zach just included little bits for the general audience, like, don't make fun of them, but what I mean to say, like, I don't know how they say it in English, but like, give them a little bit of nostalgia, give them a little bit of fan service, a kind reminder that the nostalgia is not gone. Like, give some little bits of pieces of Clark Kent being goofy, like tripping over his feet, in
Mhm.
contrast with the dark tone of him being Superman. Like, Superman is going through a lot, a crisis of identity, but when he's Clark Kent, humble him down, show us some range in his acting, let him smile a bit. It doesn't devalue what he was trying to achieve. If he added those little itsy bitsy things, I think the general audience would have been aboard from the start. That's it.
I okay. Um,
If
okay.
I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcelo. I have an answer, but go ahead, Marcelo. Go ahead.
Okay, so regarding that, I'd like to make 2 points. But first, the Clark Kent thing. We gotta remember that the goofy Clark Kent is only one version of the character, and wasn't the main one. If you take
Right.
a look at the Fleischer animations, Clark Kent is just as serious a reporter as he is on Zack's version.
Yeah.
It's just that the Christopher Reeve version popularized this goofy version of the character. Uh, I agree that maybe there could have been Zack could have sprinkled um, a bit more likeness, a bit more, a few more light moments for Clark here and there. But I wouldn't say that we needed to see the goofy Clark again, because that's not the main version of the character. It's just the one that became popular thanks to Chris Reeve. Uh,
Yeah.
and regarding the what your friend was saying, I'd like to point out that before Justice League, we had the first Wonder Woman movie, and that increased the interest of the general audiences on DC movies. People were behind the Wonder Woman movie, and since she was on Justice League, they were interested in seeing the movie. Now, if Zack was on board, I would have hoped to suggest to Warner Brothers one thing that they already did in the past with two visionary directors, and that's what they did with the Wachowski sisters on the second and third Matrix. They released the two parts on the same year, so it moved the release dates a little bit. So let's say Wonder Woman was released earlier on 2017. The first half of Justice League released on the middle of the year, and the final part of Justice League at the end. They did that with the Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions. They trusted the directors, and they split the movie so they can, for whatever reason, be it narrative, be it post production, whatever, but they trusted the director. So to maintain the integrity of the justice of Zack's story, they could have split the movie in two, but released it in the same year.
Yeah, but that would have needed for BVS to succeed commercially,
Yeah.
which did not. Like Matrix was a global phenomenon where every single person was like, "Oh, it's the Matrix," But people went on it's like a hate mafia, hate mob. Like,
Yeah, well, we all know. That's why I mentioned Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman would have given them a bit more confidence to try it.
Well, okay. So what I want to point out quick is that, well, one, I feel, when people say that, like Zack should have done this, or he, Clark could have smiled or something. Like, I'm like, well, were you watching the same movie? Because I do see Clark smile in different scenes. It is, if the emotion fits for him to smile, where you see that the very joyous version of him, right? But apart from that, but I will agree to what Marcelo's saying, is that there's so many different versions of Superman, and the goofy Clark Kent one isn't really the prominent one. It's prominent within the pop culture of film,
yeah,
but it isn't the actual version of Superman that's even known in the comics, or even known in the animated series or things of that nature. Even when it comes to that, I'm not even so sure that's even relevant to the Man of Steel or BVS Superman, because we're talking about so many years gap in between, the Christopher Reeves version to him reappearing in Man of Steel, apart from Superman Returns. But that proved that nobody really was interested in that Superman anymore. So to note that should have been a thing for Man of Steel or Henry Cavill Superman, no, Superman Returns proves that people were done with that version of Superman.
Exactly, yeah.
And even when you do look at the success of Man of Steel compared to Superman Returns, it also proves that people were ready for another
But
version of him.
were they, Vega? Because the movie didn't.
Well, let me little by little try and prove or counterpoint, I guess, what your friend was mentioning. What I will say to that is that, you know, when you're looking at Man of Steel, it is a launch. It is a launch to a new path, a new direction with a character on film that we hadn't seen before. On film. I have to stress that because if you really are a fan of Superman and you read the comics, you see, you can connect. Oh, this is from this comic. Oh, wait, that's from that comic. You see the iterations and inspirations that Zack actually pulls from comic material and put into his film. If you really are a Superman fan, right? To that degree, that you know the comics. And I've mentioned this before too, is that I think people have to realize too that Superman at that point wasn't the poster boy of DC product anymore. You know, I think people have to realize that it was Batman who was carrying the torch for DC for the longest time at that point. You know, so when you're looking at one Super, even when you're looking at Superman Returns, they were really trying to bring him back into the light. You know, they were really trying to resurrect Superman to be their prominent character, or you know the big boy and you know the big blue Boy Scout and all that. They were really trying to resurrect that, and they didn't succeed because you know it didn't connect with culture, with the people, whatever, with the audience. But Man of Steel comes and it's a breath, it's a fresh take on film. It was a fresh take, even or just on screen in general, right? Um, and the numbers show that, and but it was still a launching point. So you couldn't suspect, or you shouldn't have expected that film to do billions of dollars just because it's Superman. Because again, it's kind of like you're being disingenuous, not you, but just the people in
Yeah, that's
general.
true, actually.
You're being disingenuous to the fact that Superman was no longer this popular character like how everybody thought he was. He really wasn't. It was Batman 24/7. You know, it was the films, the cartoons. You know,
Yeah, everything.
it was just Batman, right?
Of
Um, so that's something we have to be honest. So the Man of Steel shouldn't have made billions of dollars. But even with that being said, let's just say going into them BVS, right? Now we know that was forced upon Zack Snyder, right? Zack actually did want to do another Man of Steel sequel
Yeah.
that would lead into the BVS storyline, and you can see it. You see it even when you watch BVS. You get the notions like, man, there's things that could have happened in between that time that would
The
have.
statue thing and how he saved people. That's what
Yeah,
I.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. So you can tell that was always the case. But even with that being said, right? Um, we got BVS. That's what we got, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was that it wasn't successful simply because I mean I think the numbers prove that it was actually, but could it have done more for sure? Am I the person that says, oh, it's because they didn't release the unlimited edition? No, actually, I'm not that guy. Personally, myself, I don't think that's the reason. I think they just marketed that film poorly.
Yeah.
I think, well, the critics and the bloggers didn't help with the narrative either. There was clearly an agenda to go up against that film. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like that wasn't the case when it clearly was. And when we're dealing in a society that it's all about the headlines, and that's the funnier part about that movie, is that it was so what's the word I'm looking for? Retro? No, 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 no. It was so meta. That movie was so meta that it was proving the exact point of what was actually happening with that film in real time. When you're looking at headlines determining the perception of the people's minds of how they're going to perceive that film. But I'm not. I enjoyed the movie theatrically.
I loved it.
I
Yeah,
didn't need. I honestly didn't need an ultimate edition. I didn't need it. Now, do I like the ultimate edition? Do I appreciate it for sure? But I don't feel it was even needed. I really feel that that movie was it didn't reach the $1 billion mark as it probably should have because it's
yeah,
Batman and Superman. It's simply because of the marketing. One, you you could argue whether or not it should have been called Batman versus Superman or not because that's not really what the film is.
they've killed Batman and Superman. That's
Yeah,
it. They
yeah,
changed.
you could have just called it that, and that would have been fine, right? But let's just say, marketing wise, they thought Batman versus Superman has you thinking,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, and you do. And I'll say this: that's probably the extent of what you should have done with that. And what I'm saying is this: is that I can't sit here and say that I wasn't at my job having debates with people on whether or not Batman can beat Superman. That was the talk. Like, who's gonna win, Superman or Batman? Can Batman beat Superman? Batman's just a man. Superman is an alien and with superpowers, whatever. That was the talk. So they succeeded in that. That was a conversation piece I was having everywhere and anywhere with people, whether it was at work or wherever I was going. And before this film came out, that was a talk. So I will give them that and say, yeah, that calling it that did spark conversation. But the fact that you would go and reveal that Doomsday or
Yeah.
Wonder Woman are in the film was so not necessary because now you took away from the title.
The
Now
shock
you're
value.
letting there's no value to it no more because now I know, oh, well, okay, so it's not really about Batman going up against Superman now. Now I know that. So you took away the value of your title now. So if that was your intentions all along to reveal everything you got, not reveal everything, but reveal things that if they would have been maintained a secret, it would have brought more conversation value leaving the theater. When you leave the theater saying, yo, and you're telling people that haven't seen the film, it's called Batman versus Superman. I'm not going to say anything else. Go watch the movie because you're going to be in for a spin. Because you went in into the movie thinking it's just going to be about Batman going up against Superman. Whether you think that whether you agreed with that notion or not, it didn't matter because it still piqued your interest. Like, what do you mean Batman versus Superman? Like, what? That doesn't even make sense. They're supposed to be friends. But now you're intrigued to see why they're not. You know what I mean? Now you're intrigued to see, like, why would they be going up against each other? Keep that. They should have kept that the mystery. Keep that the mystery so that when you go into the movie, it is a complete plot twist. Like, oh, wait, Luther is in this movie, and it turns out he was, now this as the viewer, and now maybe it adds that rewatch value because, like, I just need to see how, why, whatever, blah, blah. But either way, you leave the theater thinking plot twist. There was a plot twist all along. It wasn't Batman versus Superman. It was really, and these are things that they stole from even the general audience. They stole that even from the general audience by revealing Doomsday, by revealing if there was Wonder Woman, like even revealing Luther. You really didn't even have to do that. The list you showed about this movie, the more value you would have had, the more value that movie would have had theatrically as a film. And I truly believe that's what between that and between the paid off bloggers and the paid off critics. I believe that's why the movie didn't hit that $1 billion mark. It's not because it needed the ultimate edition. It's not because it needs people to. I mean, though, yeah, you can argue. I'm not gonna say you can't argue that some fans or
The
movie
thing
goers.
is,
Yeah,
just a simple intercut.
yeah.
And Marcelo's gonna benefit from his answer with that. Uh, for example, if the critics were paid off, all right, I'll give you that. But the general audience hated the movie, even though it was good in our eyes. Like, for example, Venom: Let There Be Carnage is a shit movie, but I know I'm gonna have a fun time there, right?
Mhm.
And that was the trend back then. So the people didn't like the interpretation of Batman and Superman, and I don't blame them, even though I do. So that was the problem, that we didn't. Maybe Zack, maybe Warner. I don't know whose problem is that. they didn't sell the idea of Batman versus Superman or Batman and Superman correctly, because people are willing to go to watch Venom Let There Be Carnage and break box office records, but they were not willing to do that and give Zack the benefit of the doubt. There
Yeah,
was
but you're comparing two different times, and what I mean by that is like, you know, Let There Be Carnage breaking box office records. It's according to this time. You know what I mean? Like, according to the parameters it's working against. Uh, and what I will, and let me just make this point, and just to, I feel like when we're saying the general audience didn't like the film, I feel like we're really focused on a narrative that was painted, because apart from the narrative that was painted, I'm not gonna, I can't sit here and say that I had complaints all around from even general audience people who don't know DC Comics. 9 times out of 10, and this is what I mean by, you know, it was about the narrative, because when you hear the complaints about the film, it was about the narrative that you heard pitched by bloggers and by critics when it comes to you know, the comparison between introducing characters the way Marvel did. Automatically it was a repetitive thing that you were hearing from what you read, that the bloggers were saying before the movie even came out. This is how you know that it was narrative driven rather than authentic um, response to just watching a film fresh. And this is how I took away from it. You were not like, I don't, I mean, maybe you did, but I can't sit here and say, yeah, I came across people that had general opposite,
yeah,
or general thoughts of the film that were separate from what critics and bloggers were saying before the movie was even released. It
but
was
that's what
literally like like, you know, hearing over and over again what the critics and bloggers had already said before the release of the movie. And it's hard to say that this was able to be into your mind alone when it was already put in your mind before you even watched the movie. You
but
get what I'm saying?
that's in America. In my country, Lebanon, which is
Mm-hmm.
like a very small country, it's literally 10,450 kilometers square.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we don't care about critics. We don't, like, I could tell you with all honesty, three out of four people don't even know Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb exists. That's how we roll in Lebanon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our cinemas are not just packed, man. They're like 15 floors, and you know everybody in Lebanon because it's like a small town.
Right,
It's like
right.
a small city. You know everybody, and I was in college, and nobody even opened the ratings, and we were all DC freaks, DC heads, and everybody was going in. They're like, they know me as this DC guy. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch BVS before you, ha ha ha. We're gonna eat Marvel up. We're gonna destroy Marvel. F Civil War, fuck MCU. And I'm like, yeah, I love this mentality. Then they go out and they tell me, dude, what the hell? I'm like, what? Did you read something? They're like, no. I waited 2 hours and 15 minutes to see Batman and Superman fight for 7 minutes. All right, I'll get
Mm.
back to my point, but Marcelo wanted to say something. Sorry.
Well, it all connects with the different points that you guys been making. I'd like to start with something Vega said about not needing the Ultimate Edition, and that's one thing that I have to disagree, at least for myself, right? When the first time I saw it, I left the theater not absolutely disappointed, but a bit confused. Not
Mm.
because I couldn't follow the plot, but because as a film, as a production, I felt the gaps. I
Mm.
felt it had been meddled with.
Mm.
And I'd like to mention this, and maybe I did mention it on our previous on the before we recorded the roundtable. I edited the movie. I have my own version of BBS.
Mm.
And the thing is, since the Snyder Cut was announced, many people started to talk to me, just like with Karim. People know me the same as a DC guy, and they asked me what they need to see to be prepared to watch the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
And I offered them the option to see the ultimate cut or my cut. But what's the important thing here? My version of the movie, my cut of Batman v Superman, has a running time of 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's just 10 minutes more than the theatrical cut. But what I removed is all of the connections with Justice League. Now, when I did that cut, it was around 2018. I had lost a bit of, at that moment, I felt like we might not get the Snyder cut. I lost a bit of hope. So I edited Batman v Superman to have like a version that can stand on its own instead of connecting with the Justice League. The thing is, I have talked with people who have both seen the theatrical cut but never saw the ultimate one,
Yeah.
and then saw my version, or people that saw the ultimate cut and the theatrical one, and afterwards saw my cut. So on both scenarios, most of the people tell me that yes. Having all of I mean, all of the action, all of the effects are still on the theatrical cut, and that wasn't enough for people to enjoy it. They might not have enjoyed the serious tone of the movie, but at least they would have understood a bit more of the intention of the story had the story been kept complete. So, of all the people that have seen both the ultimate cut and my version, which keeps all of the main story plots intact, they all agree that they needed those extra minutes. And at this point, I'm not sure how I would have felt had I seen the ultimate cut on theaters, but I can't see a back and feel like I'm okay with the theatrical one. That's the first one, and I assure you the next two are smaller points. The second one is okay, regarding your friend Karim, because I feel like I didn't talk about that enough. First, the thing that he was saying about having of being tired of waiting, just wanting to see another DC movie. For better or worse, that's what the Marvel Cinematic Universe machine has made people used to. They now expect the movies to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. But before the cinematic universe, most of the times we had to wait about 3 or 4 years between each movie. So I can understand the frustration since the template is the Marvel movies. But if waiting meant quality movies, it shouldn't be seen as a negative.
It's not that. It's just that waiting without answers. Like if they told me Justice League 2 is coming out in 2025, I'll wait. I won't complain. That's his point. Like I'll wait. Just give me a slate. Tell me what's the plan.
Yeah.
Why giving us a plan?
Right.
You know the slate that came out in 2014 or 13?
It was 14.
Flash, Aquaman, Shazam, bang, Justice League Part 1, Part 2.
Green Lantern Corps.
I was wait. All right, it's fine by me. I'm waiting, knowing there's a Justice League. I know that Darkseid's coming. I know the Green Lantern Corps is gonna come in and save the day. So you can continue from that.
Well, what I'll say to that point, though, real quick, just to the point, because I knew that's what you were referring to. What I will say is that because you said that he said he'd rather at this point, just because of how unorganized it is, he'd rather it be that they clean slate completely and start fresh. What I would say, the question I would ask him is that really what you want? Or
yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? Or because how would you feel if Marvel did the same thing, considering everything they've put together?
They don't have to. Because they don't. That's his point. Like everything.
So look, that's what I'm trying to. So what I'm trying to, the point that I'm making is if you really do love, let's just, I mean, so I guess, I mean, not, and I'm not, he doesn't have to love it, but let's just say if you really did love Man of Steel, if you love BVS, if you love Zack Snyder's Justice, and you love what was coming and where it was going, I can't see there being a content with the complete, erasure of it, just to have something new and starting fresh, because even though it's not as many films as Marvel has together, but I've said this even plenty of times, and I stick by this quote, and I say Zack Snyder could have accomplished in 5 films what it took Marvel to do in 20, and I'll stand by that quote. I'll stand by that quote. But either way, do you really want it? To me, it is the equivalent of saying, let's just say, even if it was Marvel by the time of Age of Ultron, let's just say, and they said, it's not working out. Let's just start something completely new.
Yeah.
Would you have been content with that as a fan? I don't think you can. I don't think really anyone can sit here and say
No,
that would have been fine.
exactly, exactly. But Marvel, we knew when we went to Age of Ultron that we're gonna have Infinity War, Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, Black Panther, and whatnot. When it came to Zack Snyder Justice League, even before its inception in 2017, we knew something was up and there's going to be a division in Warner Brothers and there was going to be an overhaul. So we didn't really get to the middle ground of this universe. Yeah, I know Zack's arc was 5 movies only, but to defend my friend's point, from what I understand from him, is that he's just sick of me, let's say, or on Twitter, hearing Ann Saranoff, Walter Hamada, Jeff Jones. When he says he wants to erase the slate, it's because of the Justice League incident that occurred in 2017. Because now, when he wants to talk about DC to a certain friend or wants to go to theater, there's this bittersweet feeling, or that feeling of pain that, shit, I'm never gonna feel that feeling with DC. He wants to celebrate DC the way we celebrate Marvel. Like when I'm going to Shang-Chi, I'm like, holy hell, look where I'm at right now. I'm with Shang-Chi. And by the time we reach that, we've already passed Endgame. And they're still surprising us. When he says he wants to clean slate, he's like, burn it all down, just like Luke says, the temple, the Jedi, the Sith. Yeah, he's like, he's crazy about DC to a point where he's like, hey, I'm willing to get another Clark Kent origin story, mild mannered farm boy, an icy fortress of solitude, not a scout ship. He's willing to go the classic route, just like Marvel, just so he get an Endgame like scenario. Because I don't know, have you guys seen Endgame in theaters?
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
The feeling I got when these portals opened, even though they're not my heroes, like I said, I'm a DC fan till death do us part. When you see that portal, you're gonna go ahead and tell me you didn't cry at that scene? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
like
I didn't cry, but I was like, oh snap, they're coming back. Like it's
yeah,
I mean,
but
you knew it was coming, but like it was still a good feeling to know that all the heroes are back now yeah.
I saw it twice on theaters, and I don't
that's
remember if I cried there on the first time, but I on the first time I cried at the credits when the main heroes start to appear with their signatures, and the
yeah.
second time I watched it, the portals got me
Here,
crying.
here in Lebanon, because we do it unorthodoxly, like we're crazy people back in Lebanon, so we're all shouting in theaters, like you could see literally the popcorn flying. And you know where I was seated? On the floor. I told the guy I want to sit on the floor, and the IMAX screen, I was looking like this. Holy shit! Come on, let's do this. And I got the same type of energy in BVS. I was looking at people in theaters like, let's do this. It's Batman. DCEU is born. But then what he's trying to say is that the damage inflicted on our universe has already been done, whether Zack Snyder's Justice League has succeeded or not. The damage has been done to our brand, and you can't blame, when I say general audience, I don't mean the Rotten Tomatoes narrative. You can't blame a person for saying, I'm uninterested in seeing a continuation of something that has went through production hell, so many like side thingies and problems behind the screen. I just want to watch my goddamn movie without thinking about all the internal things and the reshoots and what could have been and the marketing mistakes and whether Batman vs Superman shouldn't have been called that. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, there's this new Justice League movie coming out. Are you watching it? Yeah, sure. Oh, wow, that movie's great. Is there a sequel? Yeah, sure. That's what he means by that.
I wanted to let Vega know the same thing that you told him, Karim. Again, here in Ecuador, people have no idea about Rotten Tomatoes and barely know about the public's perception around the world regarding a movie. They only base their opinion around what they talked about amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention something. And I'm not a fan of his channel on a whole, but this guy, High Top Films or something like that, he made this video about the Snyder Cut, and he was talking. And I feel that that's the problem that all the world in disconnected from Rotten Tomatoes, but all of the audiences around the world faced is that but by the time BBS was released in 2016, people had this mentality that the only way to make films was the Marvel way. So
Yeah.
indeed, but BBS was marketed maybe the wrong way, but even taking the marketing and moving it aside, ha- eh, there are no trailers, there are no conversations around Batman v Superman. They just know that a Batman v Superman movie is in the theaters. The problem would have been that they now believe that the only method to do them is the Marvel way. And
Yeah.
nowadays, the audiences are more open to different styles of cinematic universes and filmmaking. But BBS had to handle the weight of the Marvel system at that point.
Right.
But also,
Um,
yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
No. Sorry, myself.
That about waiting, about wiping the slate clean and waiting for the films, the point that your friend was making. At this point, I feel that the only thing we can say is too bad, because DC tried it both ways. With Whedon's Justice League, they tried to wipe the slate clean. They did nothing with it. Now we live in this limbo with the Snyder Cut and Justice League both existing, and
But
they're
that's not
doing nothing with them.
But that's not true, because from what he means by that is people like us, like you and Vega, when we see Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, we're always gonna have in the back of our head like, oh, maybe there's a Snyderverse cooking somewhere along the way. But if you wipe that slate clean, and by that I mean just finish Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman 3, or whatever, and just reboot that universe from the ground up, create a new universe. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Maybe do it like the Harry Potter franchise, whatever. Just do it again and make sure you don't f it up this time.
I
I,
don't see it being so complicated. They are doing it
yeah,
already with the Batman.
I don't feel it's that complicated, bro. Like I think this idea that everything has to be torn down to rebuild, I think is just negligent. It's very negligent, and just to the fact that it's almost admitting that what was isn't good, or what was didn't work,
Not enough. It's not enough.
well, I'm gonna explain why. Because I mean, and because this can, you can kind of overlap this to many things. Whether it's politics, or whether it's whatever it is. This idea that you have to destroy things to rebuild because nothing that came before works. It's kind of, it's really being ignorant to what was good, right? What does work, right? So how about instead, I don't find it too difficult to, say like what worked with the Snyderverse, is
The
there,
thing,
right?
Vega, is that what you are saying is what they are doing right now. They feel like Momoa and Gadot are working, so they are still keeping them working, but they have everything else in a limbo. And I wanted to defer a little bit with that, because what I was trying to say with complicated is that it's inevitable. They will restart the universe eventually. Maybe we have one or two more movies with Momoa and Gadot, and once they are out, we're going to have a whole new DC universe. But I wanted to listen to your point because it's quite a bit different from mine.
Yeah, okay, right. No, and look, I agree with what you're saying. I guess I wasn't sure where you were coming at it from, but this is where I'm coming when I say it's really not that. I don't find it difficult to just realign everything to what was supposed to come, right? Whether call it the Snyderverse, call it the DCEU, call it what you want to call it, right? It doesn't have like, and really, and I say this all the time, the term Snyderverse only exists because you decided to isolate that from what's canon to the DC cinematic universe, right? But if you don't do that, stop doing that, and just say what's canon and what's not, or just kind of like go on board with saying, all right, whatever Zack had planned, and not just Zack, because I feel his story arc is as you said earlier, Kareem, when mentioning how it should be. When you look at his story arc and what he was planning to do, that's just the spine or the heart of what can give birth to other things, right? So maintain that, and everything else should work perfectly fine. But because you're not doing that, we're stuck in this limbo, as your friend is saying. But this idea that it can't work So I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like we should have more hope and more energy into saying, can you guys just fix this to where it goes back to the initial story arc, and or not necessarily the initial story arc, because Zack went on record to say that even what he originally had planned, he's changed now. You know, which makes sense. Like, why would you just do what we already know? Like, when you can hit us with another off factor, right? Like, oh, like this is where it's going now, right? While still maintaining integrity to maybe other to pre-existing known story arcs, right? Like whether it's the, obviously Dark Side coming, we know that was always the plan, right? So you don't have to change that, but like maybe how we get there is a bit changed. But whole point is maintain what was good, keep what was good. What we do know works, even if it took a while for us to get there as a whole, right? And I say that because when we're talking about even general audience, right? Let's just say, yes, from your guys' perspective, you're saying that, and this is clear too. So let's just say, apart from critics, apart from bloggers, the notion seemed to be that there was a need to compare what DC was doing to what Marvel was doing, and that seemed to be the rolling up of the feathers when it comes to even general audience. Huh?
Because they succeeded.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I'll never knock Marvel for what they accomplished, or Disney for that matter, right? It was either way. But there was something that they did. People, the general audience was able to follow it, and it appeared to be that could have been the discontent, right? Where it's like, well, I wanted more films of certain characters before we get to the partnering of characters and things of that nature. But I feel that eventually would have fixed itself, and I feel it did fix itself, even when we do get to Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I say that because there are people that I know that are not, comic, and even not even just people that I know. When you go on YouTube, people that were initially found discontent with BVS or with Man of Steel or with Justice League, the moment they saw Zack Snyder's Justice League, whether they feel it could have been a shorter film or not, all of a sudden there is this turnaround in perception of like, now I actually do like BVS. Now I see what he was doing. Like they get it now, and I feel that the whether Zack Snyder's Justice League first came out as a shorter film theatrically, and then there's the extended cut, however it would have been rolled out, eventually it would have accomplished still what it accomplished now, and that's that now people understand the overall vision and story arc of what was first found set as a foundation in Man of Steel, how it follows in BVS, and then how it proceeds into Justice League. I think it would have accomplished. I guess to answer your friend's point is, I feel it still would have accomplished that. Whether it was like BVS, where there's a theatrical run first, and then there's this extended cut that comes out after, it still would have accomplished that. And I think the notion should be, let's not give up hope and make it seem. Let's not let the negative side of what we know exists, whether it's the execs at at Warner Brothers that are just continually making poor decisions, that are continually like just not sticking to the canon of what should be canon. Let's not let that determine where we go forward and how we want to perceive our films going forward. Let's stick true to what we do love here, and that's if we do love what Zack was doing, even if it took up to this film to finally get it, to understand what he was doing, even if it took that, embrace it, appreciate it, and fight for it to where we know we're going in the future, to where we want to go in the future. And I feel like the notion of whether things have to happen for a reason or not, right? Like, and I do I stated this a while ago, right? Like that maybe unfortunately maybe this had to happen this way, right?
Yeah.
For us to see two things, and that's that the illumination to what was happening behind the scenes, but that's irrelevant to general audience, but to the revelation of general audience that when you finally get to a certain point where things do make sense, and now you are interested in what came beforehand.
Yeah.
The revelation of that, and the revelation of that maybe, films that whether long or short, um, people are interested genuinely if the story overall is captivating enough, and I think that's what we have to see here. And I feel like when you talk about Man of Steel, when you talk about BVS, and now Zack Snyder's Justice League, even from the general audience, what you're hearing is that there is a complete story there that makes sense. That they
Yeah,
are willing to, they're willing to see where that goes. They're willing to explore that world that now exists within that reality,
I
and
agree.
they are now more confused because there's movies like The Suicide Squad, there's movies like Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman 84 that do not connect to this universe that exists. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we have to stay focused on, even if it is just this little circle of fighters, that know what's happening and are willing to oppose the current regime that it still exists apparently, that is contrary to what we want. Even if it takes us to do that, and this is actually the point I was making, is that the revelation also of knowing that if there's a minute voice that's strong enough to voice the opinion of what they want and can get what they want, not by being disruptive, but by being vocal, that's also what we see now. This is what the release the Snyder Cut proved, is that if even if it's a minute voice that is speaking out loud enough, we can get enough attention to say like, hey, you know what, we should just give them what they want. And I believe
Exactly.
that's the lesson that we also learned here, and I think now allows us to know that if we do want them to restore the Snyderverse, or let's just not even use that term, let's just say if we want them to stay committed to that canon that
Bring
Zach was, yeah, we can actually fight for it still and make it happen, even if it's just us doing it and we're doing it, and the general audience, even if they're not doing it, but they're going to benefit from us doing it.
but it seems to me at least that yes, we reached a lot of hearts. Yes, we set out what we were headed to accomplish. But it seems like when I say general, I mean like as general as it can get. They're pretty much satisfied from the ice cream they're getting from Marvel to a point where it's not that they're not willing to fight to restore the Snyderverse, but like seriously, apart from us, which is our civic duty to hashtag the shit out of the brand because we love that stuff,
Yeah.
it's they're still not inclined. Okay, there's a bigger now that's but the general the world that Marvel created. Like you can ask anyone on the street, like Iron Man, they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to see a new Iron Man movie." You don't get that same energy manifested when it comes to ZSJL, and that brings me to the idea also that Warner Brothers is what's standing in the way because
Oh, hands
they
down.
didn't promote it, they didn't celebrate its existence, they didn't
Yes,
capitalize on it to a
for sure.
point where they're now trying to bury it under Peacemaker and all those things for people to forget. And it's kind of working, right?
Hmm.
Not with us, not with Geralt of Rivia, Geralt of Snyderverse, or Leonidas, or all these great people,
Hmm.
but with the general audience, you're like, yeah, I'll watch John Cena's Peacemaker, but so I can waste time till No Way Home comes out, for
Well,
example.
to your point though, and this is where I knew, this is why I say what I say, is because you know I'm on all social media platforms, and I'm in like on all these groups, and some of these groups are hardcore Marvel groups
Yeah,
that really, like, I mean, like there are shows to the point where they're, DC can't win in any way, shape, or form for them, right?
yeah,
But when they saw this movie, even them being like so opposed to just DC, right? To the point where like they don't care for Peacemaker, they don't, and then they're trashing all these other DC movies that are coming out. The only movie that they didn't trash, that even they are willing to explore, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. And this is coming from general Marvel fans that, like you said, they're more into the, they're enjoying their ice cream with Marvel, like, because
yeah.
they're getting what they expect out of movies of that nature from Marvel. Even they can see the potential in what is now the Snyderverse, right? They see
Yeah.
the potential there, and even they are saying like, and they're saying like, man, I wasn't on board. I wasn't at first, but now that I see this film, now that I saw it, I'm still like, and they can't say a compliment without dogging it either, and they'll be like, I mean, not that I love it, I'm not saying that, but I actually enjoy it, and I see what they were trying to do, and I actually want to see more Dark Side. I want to see where this is going, and for the sake of DC, I hope they go there, but then they'll throw another something to undermine it. But even they see the value that's there,
And
but go ahead.
and that's exactly one of my biggest problems with Warner Media, Warner Bros. After the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League, that on the first week that it was released, there was so much goodwill from casual audiences, from even as you were mentioning, Marvel fans or just DC haters.
Yeah.
Uh, Thousands of hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people were on board with Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that was throughout that week. That was the moment where Warner Brothers should have capitalized
Capitalized. Yep.
that excitement,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the consequences of not doing that are being felt right now. You
Yes.
guys must have seen on Twitter, particularly this last week, there's been an increasing amount of hate, and like Gerald of Snyderverse was
Yes.
saying, it feels again like the Snyder released the Snyder Cut Wars,
Yeah.
where the just the hate that's appearing and showing up on social media feels again like 2018, 2019. And we were past that, but Warner Brothers didn't capitalize on that.
Yeah, that's
And my final point about that being that, right. I obviously I speak Spanish, but I haven't been checking on what the Spanish DC and Marvel communities have been saying lately.
Mm.
But I entered a few comment sections on the last week since the negativity was starting to rise on English too.
Yeah.
And my God, the things that they are saying are atrocious, nonsense,
Mm.
real stupidity. And I feel so sad for the kind of thoughts and opinions that I'm finding on the Latin, like the Spanish-speaking communities.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they too had that brief space, brief moment where if Warner Brothers had shown positivity and open doors to a future with Snyderverse, the Spanish community, as obviously the English speaking ones, would have changed the kind of things they said.
Right.
because people are bandwagoners by nature in anything. We want to jump on a trend. The critics, the bloggers, the scoopers, they all want to jump. If there's a good scoop, we'll go that way. Zack Snyder Justice League was a success. So if Warner Bros. Greenlit a sequel, people will be like, yeah, now we understand what Zack's doing. Oh my God, that's amazing. But then again, when Warner went the James Gunn route, the spin-off routes, the HBO Max route, they're like, yeah, well, Zack Snyder Justice League numbers and blah blah blah. But you know what? If Zack Snyder Justice League's numbers were bad, Warner Brothers would have made sure to show us they're bad, so they can shove it down our throats and tell us, "Look, guys, this
Right.
movie failed." And
Right.
critics would have said that, but they've been hiding these numbers,
Right.
even though Godzilla, Mortal Kombat, and all these other movies got their numbers. And remember when Mortal Kombat came out? In 1 week, they were talking about sequels. Now there is not even a mention of a sequel.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
that movie.
No.
No one's talking about 84 or what's that? Godzilla versus Kong
Right.
or any other movie, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So
But now everyone is a Samba numbers expert, and they use all that to attack us.
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah. It's crazy.
now,
It's crazy.
even though James Gunn's Suicide Squad, which I like by the way, was a
Mm.
flop critically, I mean box office wise, is getting a spin-off. Why? Are
Yeah.
you so hell bent on stepping on us to a point where you're willing to go for ego, not money, to show they trying to choose what content we want. They think they know what's best for us. That's like a toxic father or mother who tells us, I know what's best for you, honey. You should watch a tidy, whitey ass Peacemaker show, but not a Justice League movie, not a movie where there's Darkseid and Superman rising
Right.
and Batman being Batman. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
weird. Like, if they greenlit a sequel to Justice League and then they came out and said, well, guys, we're greenlighting, but Cyborg Ray Fisher won't return. I would understand that. I
Mhm.
would I wouldn't agree with that. I'd understand that, like, there was some dirt that happened between Ray and Walter, but we're gonna go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe what a part of me would be like, okay, I get it. There was some problems that we
Yeah.
may never understand,
Right.
but they're going ahead. Okay, they might
Yeah.
get John David Washington or
I
something.
agree. I agree.
I get that. But the fact that you're shitting and undermining on your own product, you're not marketing it. No post on WBpictures.com, no trailer. You leaked your own movie for on Tom and Jerry. You leaked your own trailer and you allowed Scott Mendelson to shit on your own product. You
Right.
allow critics to pan your actors, your director, your home directors. You let David Ayer get bashed by people on social media so James Gunn can get some cloud points. You allow Anne Sarnoff, the person the toxic fan base, flew a banner welcoming her to Warner Brothers. You have the guts to call us toxic? Where are
Mhm.
your Shazam fans and Aquaman fans to welcome you to Warner Brothers? Where are the Birds of Prey fans' letters to Anne Sarnoff? Where is the fan art for Birds of Prey, except some fan fiction they create?
Right.
Where is all that? Who are you lying to? To yourselves? The marketing is awful. Your brand is tarnished. And for people who say, well, Zack Snyder ruined DC, look beyond Zack Snyder. Look at Warner Brothers. Look at WB Mortal Kombat flop. Godzilla vs. Kong. Okay, sure, it got some money, but nobody cares about that. Wonder Woman 84. Nobody cares. Don't convince yourself. Whoever is hearing this, Suicide Squad didn't hit with the general audience or the hardcore fan base. Adding to that, Fantastic Beasts, which is a spin off of Harry Potter, is having so much marketing issues with the whole Johnny Depp thing, with the whole delays and reshoots and adding writers and removing writers. Where the hell are you going?
Right.
What the hell are you trying? June, as amazing as it is, it didn't hit the general audience. Christopher Nolan, the biggest household director, has left the building. What are you trying to achieve?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a rant, but
No. No.
there's nothing
It's.
they're doing that's correct. Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing.
No. The WB, and this again. This is just the facts we have to embrace, and that's that WB is dropping the ball on everything right now.
We're
And
sending a clip of your rant to Discovery. We're
right,
tagging them.
yeah, exactly.
That's important.
David Zaslav, please go and correct the ship. I mean, I truly well, Dune hasn't came out here yet, so we have yet to see. No, it hasn't. It hasn't. We have yet to see it.
No,
So
I avoided your tweets about Doom because it's being
yeah,
released on the
I
21st of
didn't
this
know
month.
it. I
yeah,
didn't.
No, no, no.
yeah. I know.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm same as you, Marcel. I'm trying to because apparently people have already seen it, but I mean, I'm hearing everybody give it good criticism. I haven't seen a bad criticism about that movie anywhere. And I actually believe that's probably going to be the one film that actually does well. But I think personally that's because there's a void that movie is covering
Yeah.
within sci-fi movie drama, that truly Star Wars hasn't been fulfilling. And I feel
Thanks,
that
J.J. Abrams. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man. But yes, yeah. J.J. Abrams or Kathleen Kennedy. Look, whether you guys agree with this, but I really feel Dave Filoni is another guy that I don't like. But anyways,
My God, that we're not gonna talk about that.
okay.
He's my crown. He's my king.
Oh man, okay, we're gonna have to have another live about that.
I
But
think we'll
but
shoot each other, man.
but yeah, I feel Dune is gonna do well because it's filling a void
Yeah.
within that genre. Um, but yeah, other than that, and apart from just how well Zack Snyder's Justice League is doing. But even that, like you said, Marcelo, they didn't capitalize on taking advantage that it was received well, and that's why they also mistreated that. Um, so, yes, right now the future of WB as a whole and any IP that you might hold dear to yourself, whether and that's crazy part is that they have so many,
Yeah.
whether it's Harry Potter, whether it's Mortal Kombat, the MonsterVerse, King Kong, Godzilla, DC, the Matrix,
The Matrix. Yeah.
so many things that are under that umbrella that it's like it's amazing to see their lack of I guess ambition or just
Vision.
creativity and just
The marketing, especially, is the
especially the marketing. Yeah, it's just so sad, and
many
but
saints of Newark.
many saints and that
Post.
movie. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I,
but I mean the marketing.
but
Like
even the marketing for that, yes, exactly, the
I
marketing for
opened
that,
my phone, Vega. I
yes,
opened my phone. I went on HBO Max. They have zero posts. It's just like a few. Uh, oh, who's tuning in? Grab some gabagool. What the hell is this marketing?
yeah, yeah, it's bad, So again, the future of Warner Brothers right now hangs on a balance on what is it exactly David Zaslav intends to do
Nothing.
with the merger of Discovery and Warner Brothers, and you could only hope from what he has said so far that it looks like he's going to correct the ship.
Believe
He's
that.
talking about mending relationships, which you could assume that extends to Nolan, and because again, like, how do you lose that guy? Like it's that speaks volumes. They're willing to let go of Snyder, and again, that makes no sense. Um, and yeah, so we'll see what it is. Like I said, that's what he said. He's on record saying he intends to mend relationships that have been tarnished. He intends to, even when asked about DC, he mentions that he's focused on the Trinity. That's what he's focused on: Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. That's what he wants more of.
Did he say that?
Yeah,
I heard.
yeah, yeah. In an article that I forgot who it was with, but it is out there. Uh,
I
uh,
vaguely remember him saying something like that.
along those
I'm
lines,
not
right?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not verbatim quoting him exactly. I just know that he mentions that
he mentioned those three.
those three. So that kind of gives me hope. Like, okay, that because that is the mindset. That should be the mindset of Warner Brothers right now: is focus on your three core characters.
Build,
Um,
build your
yeah,
core.
yeah. Even and the villains that surround that. Yeah, exactly. Um, so it looks like that's what we have to wait for. From what I've gathered, that's what he intends to do. Supposedly, the talks is that we are getting the air cut. Whether that's true or not, I mean, but that is what's being said.
I
Again, I don't think that's relevant
just
to the restoring of the Snyderverse as to at least to what's to come in the future. But it would be nice to have that within fitting perfectly well with what we do have now, right? Um, but and then it looks like we just have to wait to see what Andy intends to do with the Flash, and we'll know them for sure, I guess, right? But guys, we've been ranting for about 3 hours and a half going here, but
We could have almost watched Zack Snyder's Justice League.
yeah, we could have done a commentary on the movie.
guys own it on 4K. Just the last question.
Do
Do
I
you
have
have?
it on four? Yeah, I actually did buy it.
Yeah, I have the European version. It's a bit
Yeah.
far away from me right now.
Oh shit. Oh
By the
shit.
way,
Yep.
Vega, I got the 4K
Yeah.
just so I can show support, but I don't have a 4K player. I can't watch it. So
Dude, I
I
so I made the same mistake. I made the same mistake, but I was so hell bent on, like, I just want to see what the difference is, like, so I actually went and bought myself a 4K DVD player.
nice.
Um and man, whoo, the quality, the sounds, oh my god, like, it is an experience. It is an experience. I really wanted to get the trilogy box set is what I wanted to get, but those things sold out like hotcakes, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
Um,
have access to them here.
yeah, so it's a. I'm kind of hoping they, put out more, and see that there's money in making more copies and distributing them out. But we'll see what they do.
Those bastards don't even put it on Apple TV. Like they have
Hmm.
got
Oh my god, dude, I know.
Zack Snyder Justice League. God forbid, you know.
Yeah,
God forbid. I wanna buy it. I can't, unfortunately.
yeah. It's
Their argument is it's just available on HBO Max. So
That's not that's a lie because it's available in European Apple stores. They just don't want the US market, which is their primary market, which is
are,
led
are
by the Pictures itself.
are
yeah.
you able to buy The Mandalorian on Apple TV?
Uh, Actually, no, I don't think so. That's a good question.
I just compared it like that when I was doing my research. Like The
Mhm.
Mandalorian isn't available beyond a Disney Plus,
Disney Plus, yeah.
so I assumed it was the same thing with.
That's true. Actually, you raise a good point. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't know either, but I saw it the same way you did. Like I thought to myself, they're just trying to keep certain exclusivity with certain properties. But I mean, we'll see what happens. And I guess to a point that you made earlier, and we can wrap this up though. I think there was a slight mistake for sure with this idea of releasing these movies for free on your platform at the same time while putting them out on theater. I do feel there is a sense of incompetence there, simply because what I will give Disney is that you know they at least make you buy Premier Access through Disney Plus to watch their movies on Disney Plus, or you could just go to the theater, right? Which, if you're trying to save yourself some money, just go to the theater, because it's a lot of money on Disney Plus. But if you are, a little COVID and you're trying to, watch yourself, I mean, at least they do the Premier Access. I mean, you can argue and say, well, no, because it's more fan service to get it for free. But is that wise when you're talking about money here? You know what I mean? Like, so
I mean, I think it was an AT&T thing where they were just trying to sell the service whichever way
right,
they could.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
a Jason Quillar thing, and he's getting fired for it.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, guys,
It's been
we
a
should
good one.
we should definitely do this again. Maybe next time we'll talk Star Wars. Uh,
Let's do it after the Ayer cut is released.
Next
that
time,
too, for sure.
I'm
For
gonna
sure.
bring my brother on. He's actually a very active member on Twitter, and he loves Snyder World so passionately, and
Mm.
he's very pro Zack to a point where it's a bit too extreme. And you're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Yeah, definitely. I would love to have him on, and we can definitely. The thing with these movies, there's so much to dissect. But yeah, definitely we should do this again for the air cut when it's coming. There's no doubt in my mind that it is.
Really?
Yeah, I do think so. I do think so.
Wow. I
I'd
really
say
hope,
there are. Sorry, go ahead, Karim.
no, I'm just saying. I really hope he's right.
I mean, I've seen some suspicious activity from David and
Yeah.
from some different accounts. I'm
Yep.
hopeful. I'm not totally sure, but there are some interesting signs.
So same as you. I at first was witnessing the signs, like, okay, David is being a bit more vocal about this thing, and he's engaging more.
And
Similar
all of the
behavior.
sudden, being happy, mentioning
Yes,
Warner Bros. As his home and
exactly.
things like
It's
that.
very similar to what we started seeing Zack do, where it was like he was starting to engage more, and all of a sudden he was playing nice boy with Warner Brothers a bit, not as much as we're seeing David here, but quite a bit, and whatever. So like that's what I started seeing. But then again, apart from that, I revert back to, like, you guys should, again, third plug-in Sil, you better, saying, see me. But Sil Abdul Inc. on YouTube. This guy Mikey Sutton with Geekosity Mags.
Send me his
Um,
link on Twitter, please.
huh?
If you can send me his link on Twitter.
I'll send you the link. This guy, he's saying that the people he knows that are work sources that he has at Warner Brothers are saying that the air cut is coming more next year for sure. Not anytime this year, but next year for sure. The problem with DC fandom, and this is what he will say, is that he said was that they're so disorganized right now that they still don't even know exactly what they're about to show on DC fandom. They're still trying to decide what they want to show. So they could announce the air cut then, but they're still not even certain about anything else either. So there's so much uncertainty surrounding DC fandom. Apparently, at least last I heard when I was tuned in with them,
Well
that
deserved.
yeah. So uh, so we'll see. But he said that for sure. What he is hearing is that the air cut is coming. More than anything next year. So we'll see. I'm looking
I
forward
think
to that if that is the
thing
case.
I'm most excited for is if they show me like a Harley Quinn season 3 trailer. I'm all for that. That's it. I really,
Kaylee Cuoco was on the list of guests, so you might get that.
yeah. I reached a point where I'm more excited for the animated Harley Quinn than I am for the entire DC live action slate. To be honest,
Yeah, no, like I said, the only things that I'm kind of anticipating, really, the most one that I'm anticipating the most is Black Adam, probably just because I'm really excited to see The Rock as Black Adam. Um, the Matt Reeves, I know it's gonna be good. Again, I just know I have that bitter feeling about the Ben Affleck affair, but I know it's gonna be a good film, and I will go see it. I will see that. And the Flash, really, just because this is, to me, like I said, that's the telling point. This is the Flash is going to be the telling point of exactly what they intend to do. But other than that, nothing else is really like, yeah, sure, Aquaman, but I don't know, it's we still haven't seen anything yet. Really, DC fandom is going to let us know exactly what we're going to be excited for, or not,
yeah,
if anything at all. But um,
Aquaman's useless. I think, at least in my opinion.
yeah, well, yeah, truly, and truly, to me, I think the deciding factor that they have to acknowledge is that, is anything coming out that's coming out in the future? Does anything have to connect? Is there any connection to what we really wanted to connect to or not? I think that's what to me, that's what it's truly falling down on. And I
I
think even
If Black
yeah,
Adam is successful, or maybe there's like an after credits with Henry Cavill, that's as far as it goes. But other than that, I don't think there's any connective tissue apart from Flash. And
yeah.
it all is they're relying. It's like a gamble. It's like all their money is on the Batman. Like the trailer that's gonna get the world talking, so it can dissuade the audience from asking questions about other pieces of content. They'll be like, "Wow, we've got the Batman trailer and we've got a sneak peek at Black Adam." And
Right, which is so stupid if that's really the thought process. Because it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, it could be a dope trailer. It could be a dope movie.
yeah,
It doesn't mean that we're gonna be like, oh well, I guess since we got this, we don't care about it. Like, no, that's
that's why.
so,
That's
yeah,
why.
yeah.
I
So
bet you all my life on that.
yeah, so I mean,
That
well, guys, yeah, let's not. I don't want to hold you guys any longer, and actually, I do got to get ready for work. But man, guys, I appreciate you, Marcelo, Kareem. This was a long time coming. It probably should have done this a lot sooner, but we finally reunited. Manu, wherever you're at, you're with us in spirit. You're in our hearts. Uh, and maybe you could join us in the near
For the
future
next one.
for the next one, exactly. But guys, I definitely think we should do this again. Um, for sure, for the air cut, as Marcelo said, I really would like to. There's other things to talk about, like Star Wars. For sure, I think is an interesting conversation piece we could have. That I'd like to have with you guys if you guys are interested. And yeah, we'll keep in touch and get this. See when we can make this happen again.
all right, Marcelo. It was nice talking to you.
Likewise, Kareem,
So
thank you for having us again, Becca.
before you guys go though, let them know where they can find you, interact with you guys, and conversate with you guys.
Go ahead, Kareem.
You know where to find me on Twitter, guys.
Well, whoever's watching, you can find me as the other Marcelo. Just look for that.
All right, for sure, sure. For guys, anybody who watched in, thank you for tuning in. Anyone who's going to watch this afterwards, appreciate it. Uh, there's plenty more conversations coming. Tune in whenever you can. With that being said, peace out. God bless. Much love. And hashtag restore the Snyderverse.